What the heck is going on, fellas? It is part two of the Dorktown documentary, the supercut of the history of the Seattle Mariners. We just got through the slide of 95 last night in last night's stream. We're now today going to be going through, I'm assuming they'll talk about the end of the 95 playoffs, and
Yeah.
then into I believe at the end of 2019 is what it runs through. So we'll get the 01 season in here. We'll get, Felix in here. We'll get Robbie Cano's signing in here. Like, there's still some big moments.
Yeah.
But definitely
Yeah. What
not
happened
quite
in,
the 95. Yeah.
yeah. What happened in part 1? Should we give a recap? The
Yeah.
team was founded, but
It's-
prior
they
to that,
suck.
some shenanigans happened. And then they sucked for about a decade. And then a manager for the Yankees was mean to Ken Griffey Jr., and then he sought out his revenge.
Right.
And then thus the Seattle Mariners' good times were born. Ian, I'm proud of you for not being late today. We won't have we won't have to rewind for you today. We aren't going to start watching it until 6, so we've got about 10 minutes to kind of just chill, let people funnel in. Yeah, exactly. History of the Mariners pre-95. The team was founded, not a lot else. When you have a dedicated segment to a guy named Mr. Jello, you know that there's some not so great. There's just not a lot going on for the franchise. Still have to go back because I missed the beginning yesterday. Okay, my bad. So we'll instead of starting at an hour and 28 minutes in, we'll start from the very beginning.
We'll start at 0.
Just run it back.
Yeah, just raw dog it all the way through the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Manny, did you tell Ryan Bliss you have hella bread, or did you have hella bread at the dinner table because like the free, like, was it a place that they serve bread? Also, what are you doing hanging out with Ryan Bliss?
Gang right there. The boys.
That's fam right there. You flexed your Jerry photo. Jesus. You're an interesting person, Manny. You know that?
Hey, Manny, are you going to be at FanFest?
He's probably working because he has a job, right?
Yeah, gets hella bread.
Hella bread. He's not jobless.
Anybody else going to FanFest? I'll be there both days by myself. Acting like Ryan Bliss and I ain't twins.
That's twin for real. I won't be at FanFest, and I'm sad.
You'll be there both days. W. Me too. So I got all the like pre-season ticket member stuff for Saturday. So I'll probably be I don't know, gates open at 9. So I'll probably be there at like 7:30 or 8. Although it is season ticket. I don't know. I've never done a season ticket holder entrance for FanFest, so I don't know what to expect.
It's a whole new world for you.
It is a whole new world. So it'll be, but in terms of on Sunday, I'll probably be there at like 9 because, that's just regular. That's everybody gets to come in at that time. And I don't necessarily, they didn't specify, like they said, oh, there's autograph sessions and photo sessions, which is how it's kind of always been. But they did not specify who's doing what. So like my plan is to get Josh Naylor on one day, Kate Anderson on the other day in terms of autographs. That's my goal.
Yeah.
But I don't know because apparently the season ticket members get like 3 early access like autograph signings. I don't know if that's with like Julio, Cal, and like Naylor or what it's gonna be, and then like maybe the prospects or something. I don't know. But
they just posted something. Was it? It was earlier today.
That's what I was reading. Yeah, that's what I was reading. But they didn't post any of like the actual schedule.
Oh, okay.
Oh, they're still too expensive, Manny. I wasn't gonna buy them, but then my mom bought them for me for Christmas. So my mom's richer than you. What's up, dude?
Yeah, owned. Imagine not being retired, Manny. That's crazy.
Yeah, not being retired, having to have a job,
still having to work, broke ass. That's
Mama
crazy.
Swanson could never. Now the stipulation is I have to take her to a couple games.
Oh, God forbid.
Like, so.
Oh darn, Manny. Is there a Raul Ibanez appreciation night?
Or Joey Cora.
Or Joey Cora. If not, can you put word into the front office that Colton's mom would like a Raul Ibanez appreciation night or a Joey Cora appreciation night? Thank you so much. In honor of, the 50th year, I mean, both those guys will be on, top 50 Mariners lists, right? So I think it's within reason that every person on the top 50 Mariners list has an appreciation night of some sort.
Yeah.
So I think you kind of need to do a better job, Manny, if I'm being honest with you. It seems like you're kind of lacking. So he owns 0.001 Bitcoin. Did you buy that in 2010 or did you buy that in 2026?
How many games am I going? Oh, sorry, you're still.
I'm still talking. Yeah, I'm still talking about Bitcoin. just in case you weren't like really there for like the conversation Dorian and I were having. It was a really great conversation. But you can go now. You can talk.
Yeah, I'll talk about the Mariners now.
Yeah,
since we're Mariner Mojo, not Bitcoin Mojo.
Shut up, Bitcoin.
How many games am I going to, Ian, to make the season tickets worth it? I don't know. Whatever ones I decide to go to, I guess. I mean, I'm going to opening day. I have tickets to, I think, Randy's retirement, like number retirement.
Randy Arosarena's retiring?
Yeah, he's retiring. And then I think I bought tickets to the 50th anniversary game. I don't remember. But I mean, that's 3. And then I'll go to probably plenty more where I'll just be buying the cheapest ticket and standing out in the stairwell. So I plan on going to like 20 plus games like I usually do every year. So
shame you won't be able to go to the doubleheader for Boston.
I'm so
upset.
It's going to sound bad if I'm mad about it because I'm going to Las Vegas instead, but I really wanted to go to that double header. And then my parents are like, hey, you want to come to this concert? And I'm like, not really. And they're like, okay, well, we bought you a ticket anyway. I'm like, okay, guess I'm going to the concert.
Just tell them to take somebody else. They can take the dog. They can take the dog.
Hey, Joe, you want to go to a concert with my parents?
I'm okay, actually. Thank you, though. Yeah, that is true. I'm terrified of fan tracks. I don't even know. I am in a dynasty league already on fan tracks with you guys, but that would require me to log into Fantrax and like do that, which I will, but I don't think I checked it more than like 4 times last year. Am I not going to FanFest because I'm stupid and poor? That is correct, Manny. Those are the exact 2 reasons.
That's right. You'll go, Larry. All right, Larry, you can go watch the Kenny Chesney concert in the Sphere with my parents.
Dude,
so
that's gonna be brutal for you. The Sphere, like the Cosm kind of messed you up a little bit.
For a little bit. The Cosm was weird for a little bit, but we got through it. So I don't know. It'll be fine. Also, Larry, well, this ends at 8:00 to answer your question that you messaged me earlier. This ends at 8:00.
So. Well, I mean, we've got a little bit over 2 hours. But...
True. Little before 8 or a little after 8:00. What goes on at FanFest? I'm new to this and I'm going Saturday. Oh, hell yeah. You just won the Mariner Mojo Kenny Chesney Vegas giveaway. All right, King Salmon. So, FanFest, assuming that you're going to be going to try to get some autographs. I don't necessarily know what the autograph lineup's looking like right now. You're going to have Julio, Cal, Josh Naylor, George Kirby. Like a lot of guys are going to be there. I don't know what the autograph lineup is looking like. They haven't specified yet. But I would recommend getting there like an hour and a half early.
It's all sold out.
Yeah, it's all sold out. So if you haven't bought tickets, you're in trouble. But get there early. And then when you go in, you're going to get a voucher. You're going to have to pick a line and get a voucher to whoever you want to get an autograph from, or a photo op is the other option. When you pick that voucher, it'll say a time and an autograph station. You're going to go to that autograph station like a half hour or something before the time. And then you're going to go stand in line, usually in like the suite level or maybe down in the visiting clubhouse, etc. And you'll be able to get an autograph and meet the player for a little bit. Otherwise, you can go down to the field and walk around the field. You can go play catch in the outfield. You can go try to hit home runs out in right field. You can go pitch in the bullpen. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff there. It doesn't sound like they're going to have the zip line this time, which they had, I think, one time, and it was weird.
Yeah.
But,
you can play catch on the field. Like,
yeah.
They'll do like a I guess like, I mean, it's what would you call it when they like dugout diary kind of situation? They sit on
dialogue.
Dialogue. That's the right word. They have a panel of players, coaches, etc., whatever people within the organization, and they'll do a little dialogue that's like what 15-20 minutes.
Yep.
So
I know that they're going to be having, like, they're going to host the hot stove show out in Edgar's Cantina. So they're going to have like the 710 desk out there and whatnot, and they're going to do a hot stove show with Rick and Shannon and all those guys. So that'll be cool. I mean, I'll stop by there and kind of watch it, but I'm sure I'll get a chance to maybe talk to Rick while I'm watching that. If I had to guess, he's probably going to come around and talk to literally everybody. Yeah. So, God, how gas would it have been though? Like if we were to have recorded ourselves out playing catch on the field, that would have been gas.
Well, I apologize for being stupid and broke.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it would have been gas.
Would have been gas.
I didn't even think about it until right now. That'd have been cool.
You still can. Just have to play catch with. Is your
myself
dad going?
No, no, I'm going alone.
Play catch with Manny.
I don't want to play catch with Manny. He smells.
That is true.
He's stinky. Anyway, Chad, it's about to be 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. We ready to cry again or what?
Yeah, man. Let's hit it.
Let's hit it.
There's not as much excitement in this one, but
hey,
there'll still be some heartfelt moments.
Yeah, I'm sure there's still going to be there's going to be good moments, and the story is going to be interesting. See if there's anything that I don't know. There's plenty I didn't really know yesterday.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that there'll be a handful of things that I'm learning. Wow, you're telling me that for the first time, kind of a situation. Yeah. Wow. So we're continuing with part 4. We're at an hour and 27 minutes and 50 seconds of 3 hours and 40 minutes. So we've got, a little over 2 hours left. It's going to be loud when I hit play, more than likely, louder than our audio levels here, more than likely, but just be aware. Headphone users, yes.
Hey, can you share your screen?
Oh, right. I need to do that. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you.
Oh, gosh, I forgot. All right. Late. We're late to the
No, it's just now 6 o'clock. We're good.
I know, but I gotta hustle here, man.
You got this. You got this.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God.
I'll play catch with you, Manny. I'm going to wear a nose plug.
It's mean.
Okay. What the hell?
What?
This is my face was replaced by the.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay. Oh, so I should have gone to full screen. That's what I should have done. Whoops.
Show and hustle in the same sentence.
Manny,
hustle.
Manny, I bet you I could beat you in a foot race.
I believe that. All right, start it. Hurry.
3, 2, 1. We begin. Cinema.
That's 6:01.
Oh, were we late? Damn.
Literally, you clicked start as it switched to 6:01.
Ian hit us with the late.
Oh, dude.
After taking down the Yankees, the Mariners ultimately fell to the Indians in the 1995 ALCS, 4-2, but, as always, who cares? We'll stop just long enough to note Junior's weird feud with Cleveland pitcher Dennis Martinez, in which the two were constantly pausing play out of nowhere to throw one another off. When Seattle was sent home after a brutal shutout loss in Game 6, Griffey was crushed, but he still found it in him to pay a visit to his opponent's locker room and congratulate Martinez. No one ever does that. Ultimately, the Mariners got what they came for. A senseless season, one in which 1,000 different things went exactly right, permanently settled the existential threat that had plagued Seattle baseball throughout its history. Now, the team of the future was graduating into the team of the present. Now that stadium funding was coming in, Mariners fans' remaining source of anxiety was the threat of Griffey leaving in free agency. For years, he'd spoken idly about someday heading for Cincinnati, where his father played for so many years, and the Reds had been talking to his agent for weeks. But ultimately, Griffey decided to sign a 4-year deal to stay in Seattle, and, unbelievably, his best years were still ahead of him. In 1996, Ken Griffey Jr. ran for President of the United States as part of a promotional stunt with Nike. What started as a goof quickly got a lot less fun for Griffey, who was suddenly fielding political questions from beat reporters. Though he would later become perhaps the first superstar athlete to say he would gladly play alongside a gay teammate, he found himself well out of his depth in the political arena. Jr. definitely had a cranky side, and it was coming out. He hated the whole thing. The merits of his candidacy are for political historians to decide, but whatever the case, it ended in September. He found that life on the campaign trail was vicious and kept him from sleeping until noon and watching Ricky Lake, forever proving the axiom that someone who's obsessed with television can never be president. On the field, the Mariners' absolute embarrassment of talent was about to get even more embarrassing. You see, in this time, the MLB draft had a pretty strange format. In even-numbered years, the worst National League team got the number 1 pick, and in odd-numbered years, it went to the worst American League team. When the Mariners finished 67-95 in 1986, it wasn't the very worst record in baseball, but it was the worst record in the AL. Lucky for them, the following draft was in an odd-numbered year, allowing them, of course, to spend the top overall pick on Junior. Now, remember that 92 season when they kinda crashed and burned out of nowhere following a couple years of positive momentum? Well, here they go again. Once again, the number 1 pick was waiting for him in the following odd-numbered year. Last time, they rolled the dice on a 17-year-old, and it worked out pretty well for him. So, they did it again. If you're not a baseball person, you know Alex Rodriguez as J-Lo's husband and the guy you've seen on 37,000 different CNBC shows on mute in an airport bookstore. Let's catch up on all the weird giggles you've been missing. Here he is on Closing Bell Access.
Thank you.
Here he is on something called Squawk Alley.
Yeah, just together, right?
And here he is on Squawk Box, which is different from Squawk Alley somehow, I think.
That's how we're going to try to get... I'm still mad about that, but you...
And here he is on Mad Money.
By the way, this bag I asked for before.
And here he is on CNBC Make It.
I'm exhausted.
God, he's such a herb. I love him. As a rookie, A-Rod was a perfect mark for a legendary prankster like Griffey. Griffey was once in the habit of betting manager Lou Piniella a steak dinner that he could hit home runs in batting practice. At some point in '95, Junior hit a cold stretch, losing bet after bet. He now owed Piniella an enormous amount of beef. One day, Piniella opened his office door and found his winnings. A live, 1,200-pound cow Junior had borrowed from a nearby farmer and smuggled in. Piniella wasn't as bothered by the cow as he was by the absolutely biblical dumps it had already taken on the floor. This stunt, though, was even funnier. When A-Rod was just 18, Griffey tried to convince him that all the stars on the team were plotting to monetize their genetics by selling their sperm, even bringing in a buddy to pretend he was a doctor. Junior asked him if he wanted in, and he ended the goof once it was clear that A-Rod was actually starting to believe him. But like Griffey, A-Rod is a far more interesting person than he's typically given credit for. In this pantheon of baseball gods, the legacy of A-Rod is by far the most complicated. Right now, though, the year is 1996. A-Rod is 20 years old, and his greatness is bewildering.
So let me start by saying this. Throughout the first 49 years of the integration era, a period starting in 1947, nary a single infielder had ever whacked 90 extra base hits in a season. Not even anyone that played the classic slugging position of first base. Then came year 50, and in A-Rod's very first full season as a big leaguer, he racked up 91. As a shortstop, in his age 20 season, which is the most stunning part of all, to be that good, that young, it goes without saying he broke all sorts of youth records. There are a million different things 96 A-Rod was the youngest player to ever do, but irrespective of what a neophyte he was, he still clobbered more baseballs than any other infielder of any age since Jimmy Fox 58 years earlier. Through the 2019 season, that remains the lone instance of a shortstop hitting 90. And in fact, let's even expand the scope a bit to all left side of infield players to even incorporate third baseman. Still atop the leaderboard. That brings me to Edgar Martinez. Staying on that extra base hit theme, Edgar kicked that season off, taking it to a whole nother level. Here are each of his first 311 at-bats of the 1996 season. That's a whole lot of baseballs given a good ride. 66 to be exact. Allow me to repeat myself. In 1996, Edgar Martinez recorded an extra base hit on 66 of his first 311 at-bats. And this was by the time the M's had played just 84 games, barely half the season. Historically, that stacks up pretty well. In the modern era, no one's even come all that close, with the 60 threshold remaining otherwise unreached. Combined with Griffey, who had a typical peak season, that gave the 96 Mariners 3 players who topped an OPS of 1,000, sorta cornering the AL market of those guys and becoming the first team with such a trio since the 1929 Cubs. Oh, and all their 4th best bat did was smash 44 dingers while driving in 138 runs. With an embarrassment of riches up and down their lineup, the 96 M's offense soared to near unprecedented heights in becoming the integration era's first squad to ever produce a team-wide OPS of 850. They also scored at least 5 runs in 107 games. If that sounds like a lot to you, you'd be right. They were the first team in 46 years to have even 100 such games, a feat that remains exceedingly rare in modern times. Add it all up, and they scored nearly 1,000 runs at a time when no one prior to that season had even reached 900 since the 1953 Dodgers. And yet, somehow, some way, this team found a way to miss the postseason. Sure, their pitching was lousy. Reigning Cy Young winner Randy Johnson missed 3 months in the middle of the season due to a bulging disc in his back, returned in August with 6 appearances out of the pen, then was shut down for the season. But that's still quite spectacular for that lineup to spend all of October on their couch, or like drinking coffee at grunge concerts. Maybe that would have been a bit more understandable in the pre-1969 days when the entire postseason was just the World Series, or even up through a few years prior when the postseason included an LCS and thus just 2 teams from each league made it. But this was year 2 of the implementation of the LDS, thus producing 4 playoff teams per league. Somehow, it still didn't matter. Fantastic work, Ems.
How many years have we been trying to sell you on the idea that the Mariners are the future of baseball? This will be year 6, right? Come on, guys, don't make me look stupid. Thank you. These 4 first played together in '94, but the strike wiped that season out. Griffey was hurt for most of '95, Randy was hurt for most of '96, but in '97, all 4 stayed healthy for just about the entire season. A-Rod didn't quite set the world on fire like he did the year prior, but he did have a terrific season. Randy served up the best season of his career to that point, and almost won another Cy Young award. The rock-solid Edgar was one of the best hitters in baseball again. But it was Junior, the 1997 American League MVP, who found his zenith. 3 years after the strike ended his pursuit of Roger Maris's single-season home run record, he once again took a shot at the most obsessed-over record in American sports. He went yard in his first at-bat of the season.
2-2 pitch. Swung on and belted. Deep to right center field, and we are tied.
And did it again in his second at-bat.
Gets under this one. Does it have legs? Back to the wall is O'Neal.
Both were given up by the same David Cohn who gave up 3 dingers to Junior in the '95 ALDS. Buddy, I'm sorry. Near the end of April, Junior was on pace to hit upwards of 90 home runs. Everyone knew that would cool down, and it did, but even as his pace slowed, he was still on track to break the record halfway through the season. And then came an excruciating 25-game stretch in which he hit just 1 home run. Like most baseball slumps, it seemed to happen for no real reason. Griffey wasn't terribly bothered because the team was winning, and he suggested that sports writers were overly obsessed with stats and charts. I have absolutely no idea what he's talking about. Anyway, Junior ended up with 56 homers. While he did miss the mark by 5, he still produced one of the greatest power hitting seasons of all time. Along with Mark McGwire, who finished with 58 over in the National League, Griffey accomplished something that no one but Maris had since the outbreak of World War II. I'd like to take a moment to appreciate the fact that these four were playing in their peak years on the same team at the same time. The argument could be made that all four of them were the best ever to play their respective position. Is it a winning argument? Maybe not, but bear with me for just a minute. First up, Junior. By his age 27 season, his wins above replacement stood at 59.2. Better than any other center fielder of that age aside from Mickey Mantle. There's a little bit of room to debate Griffey versus Mantle if you want to. For instance, you could try and argue that Griffey was a more well-rounded baseball player and point to his fielding ability. Chart these same guys by defensive WAR, and Junior is all the way at the top, with Mantle in pretty mediocre territory. Ultimately though, I think I have to concede that Junior, at this point in his career, is number 2. Now Edgar, whose case is much easier. The DH is a relatively new position, and one that players often don't occupy for the majority of their careers, so his competition is a lot thinner. Among those who spent at least 60% of their careers as a DH, the only player in the same universe as Edgar in terms of WAR is David Ortiz. Edgar is clearly the best pure DH ever. Randy is a lot more difficult to assess. Okay, so here's every pitcher ever with a WAR above 50. At 103.5, Randy places in FM radio territory. Puts him at 9th all time. I'm gonna ignore these guys from the dead ball era because while they were great relative to their peers on the mound at the time, they never had to face scary home run hitters. So that leaves us with Lefty Grove, Tom Seaver, Roger Clemens, and Greg Maddux, and Randy. This is extremely rickety logic because it means we're not even considering, say, Pedro Martinez or Bob Gibson or Sandy Koufax, and it fails to account for any kind of quantity versus quality considerations. We can point out that he won 5 Cy Young Awards, more than anyone but Clemens, and he's number 2 in strikeouts, behind only his buddy Nolan Ryan. I can't rank him definitively, but on the all-time greatest roster, I think we could pencil him in as our number 5 starter without sounding completely ridiculous. And finally, Alex Rodriguez. A-Rod actually only played his first 10 seasons at shortstop before eventually moving on to third base, so it's a little unfair to compare his WAR at shortstop to guys who spent their entire careers there. And yet, despite playing only half as many games as the leaders on this chart, and completely sweeping some of his best seasons off the table, A-Rod shows up as one of the all-time best. There are some notable absences from this chart: Ernie Banks, Robin Yount, and Cal Ripken. Shortstops who, like A-Rod, moved to different positions midway through their careers, so let's stack those guys up. Yep, at shortstop, I'm going with A-Rod every time. If you're not mad at me, you should be. This entire argument requires a fair amount of goalpost moving and cherry picking. Are all 4 the greatest of all time at their respective positions? No, but you could make the argument without being immediately laughed out of the room, right? For one of your players to be in that conversation is great. 2 is practically unheard of. 3 is a ridiculous notion. And 4 is this: the 1990s Mariners. The modern murderer's row. Because this is an unfair semblance of talent, the Mariners had, a few months prior, traded away another player who could have eventually joined this pantheon. The year prior, the team was dragged to Appleton, Wisconsin for an exhibition game against their minor league affiliate, the Timber Rattlers. When the game was rained out, the teams decided to hold a home run derby to at least give the fans something to look at. Junior hit a few out, and so did A-Rod. But both of them were upstaged by the Timber Rattlers' 20-year-old first baseman. His name was David Arias, and according to a couple of accounts, he hit multiple home runs not just out of the stadium, but onto the highway. That is 650 feet away. That couldn't possibly be true. But it's what they said. Junior was watching in disbelief. A-Rod was freaking out. He'd later say that night, he wanted the Mariners to call Arias up on the spot. Ultimately, Arias was traded away a couple months later, and he started going by a different name. You know him as David Ortiz. While all this was going on, they had one of the greatest power hitters of the 21st century just kinda hanging out in their minor league system. You see what I mean? It was as though divine intervention was feeding transcendent baseball talent into Seattle. Did I mention they still had Jay Buhner, who hit 40 home runs again, and that his 40th home run was a 484-foot annihilation into the upper deck?
And belted one for history!
and that this home run officially gave the 1997 Mariners the all-time record for most home runs by a Major League Baseball team, a record that stood for 21 years throughout the entire remainder of the steroid era, and that they had Paul Sorrento, who hit 31 home runs, and Jose Cruz Jr., who hit 26 stingers in just 104 games, nearly won Rookie of the Year, and was traded away mid-season because they didn't need any more hitting. It was true. The Seattle Mariners really were the team of the future. In a first-round series that honestly isn't even really worth getting into, the Mariners' bats stopped working, the bullpen fell apart, and they were brushed aside by the Orioles in 4 games. To those of us who grew up in this time rooting for teams far away from Seattle, the Mariners were sort of our second favorite team, our vacation team, for all the reasons we've talked about. We wanted this team in the World Series so badly, just for the privilege of watching them. And if these Mariners weren't good enough, when was it ever going to happen? I remember thinking, well, maybe it's time to root for the individual now. Maybe things like the home run record are what matter. Junior's pursuit of history didn't depend on the good fortunes of his team or a pitifully small sample of games in October. The next year, he'd get a full season and a fair shot to hit 62 home runs. And he chased the record again. Unlike the previous year, Junior avoided that July slump. On August 1st, he was still on pace to hit 62 by year's end, and he never fell far off that pace. What happened next, I never saw coming. It stopped mattering. Over in the National League, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa eclipsed him in August and never looked back. It was their story now. Junior once again finished with 56 home runs. No other player in the history of baseball, not even Babe Ruth, had done that twice in a row. But we just didn't care. He wasn't alone. An old friend of his was being ignored as well. In many ways, Barry Bonds and Ken Griffey Jr. were reflections of one another. Both were sons of star baseball players, had a reputation for getting cranky from time to time, and were transcendently great in all facets of the game. Up until this point, Bonds and Griffey were the 90s. They were numbers 1 and 2 on the 1990s home run leaderboard, and unlike so many of their neighbors on this list, they were great at everything. Both complemented their power at the plate with base stealing ability few others possessed, with Junior stealing more than 100 bases in this time, and Bonds 300. While other power hitters tended to be kinda bad in the field, both these men stood out as excellent outfielders, with Bonds winning 7 Gold Gloves, and Junior 8. In '98, which was only his age 33 season, Bonds joined the 400-400 club, 400 home runs, 400 stolen bases. To this day, he's the only player ever to do it across their entire careers, regardless of age. Incredibly, the only player ever to come close to matching this feat was his father, Bobby. And while some in baseball recognize the magnitude of this accomplishment, America generally didn't care, or even notice. It's comical to look back on how little we acknowledge something that was plainly obvious to everyone on Earth. In '98, Bonds looked basically the same as he did at the start of the decade. The same could be said of Junior. Mark McGwire, on the other hand, had transformed from a normal-looking guy into a cartoonish Soviet artillery prototype that took 3 days to reposition and 25 men to operate. His eventual admission, that he loaded up on steroids to smash the record with 70 home runs, wasn't necessary. Back in 1987, when Griffey was a lonely 17-year-old toiling away in the obscurity of the Arizona Instructional League, Bonds, then in his second Major League season, would take him out to dinner. The two have been close ever since. One night after the '98 season, Bonds had dinner at Griffey's home. In his book about Bonds, sports writer Jeff Pearlman describes a conversation between the two that evening. As the story goes, Bonds finally let it all out. He was sick of playing it straight. He'd played clean for a decade and accomplished incredible things, only to become a footnote, watching as others juiced up largely without scrutiny and were lauded as the saviors of baseball. He was going to get his too, he decided. Griffey, for the record, says this conversation never happened. Whether or not it did, it at least did accurately represent a fork in the road he certainly faced around this time. And the general consensus is that he never used any performance-enhancing drugs. "I have kids," he later said. "I don't want them to think their dad's a cheater." Cheating in sports is cool. It's more than that, it's beautiful. It's no fun when your team's on the wrong end of it, but generally, getting mad about cheating is like walking out of the movie theater because you disapprove of the actions of Darth Vader. Sports allow humanity to be what it is, warts and all, at its most base or brilliant, without any real consequence. The rules are not laws, they're dares. When we orchestrate elaborate sign-stealing operations, we express our ingenuity. And when our dumb schemes blow up in our faces, we give the world something to laugh about. When, for example, we throw an illegal spitball for decades, literally write a book called Me and the Spitter, and end up in the Hall of Fame anyway after everyone has a giggle about it, we demonstrate how little any of this actually matters and how arbitrary our standards are. Bonds allegedly cheated for years, looking like Super Shredder in front of the entire world, taking down baseball's most hallowed records, and the powers that be couldn't do anything about it. It's high comedy. But if cheating is valid, practicing virtue is every bit as valid. Did Junior ever use PEDs? No one can know for certain aside from YouTube commenters. They're all medical doctors who are very well connected in the baseball world, and they're bound to know if you ask them. Again, the general consensus is that he did not use PEDs. I choose to agree with this consensus, and I celebrate it. Not because he was doing the right thing, because who cares about that? Because he did what he wanted to do. He turned down the opportunity to graduate from a baseball superhero to a baseball god, instead choosing the opportunity to remain himself. Besides, it wasn't as though Junior's production was the problem. Randy Johnson had spent years pitching his guts out for this team. If it weren't for him leaving every bit of himself on the field in '95, the succession of miracles that kept the Mariners in Seattle probably wouldn't have occurred. After the intense workload sent him to the disabled list in '96, he'd returned in '97 with his best season yet. But the Mariners, tasked with keeping all four of the Beatles on the payroll at the same time, wouldn't, and maybe in a sense couldn't, offer him a contract extension. Randy spent the final season of his contract feeling completely disrespected, and the bad energy seemed to radiate throughout the clubhouse. The thing to do was trade him. At one point, the Dodgers offered a package that included the legendary Wilton Guerrero. The season prior, Guerrero had used a corked bat. He was caught when the bat shattered on an infield grounder and sent the cork flying. He was really caught when he ran around trying to collect the evidence instead of running to first. He would have made the perfect Mariner, but the team announced Randy was off the market. Things took a turn for the worse after a clubhouse shoving match with David Segui in July. Randy's numbers were awful by his standards, and the Mariners were all but out of the playoff hunt. Right before the deadline, they shipped him to Houston out of desperation.
Heck the Astros.
Heck the Astros.
The knock on
dude.
Johnson had been the 1996 injury and concerns about his future health. A mediocre 1998 suggested that his best pitching might have been behind him. But as though morale had been the problem all along, Johnson caught fire the second he left town, finishing with an unreal 1.28 ERA in Houston and helping lead the Astros to the playoffs. Randy Johnson would end up pitching until past his 46th birthday, along the way winning a World Series MVP award and 4 more Cy Young awards in 4 consecutive years. As soon as he was eligible, he was nearly unanimously voted into the Hall of Fame. The loss was catastrophic for the Mariners, who had never lacked for hitting, but relied on Randy to keep their pitching from scuttling the team entirely. In both their playoff seasons, their ERA was far worse without him on the mound. What could this team do without Randy Johnson? In 1998, we had our answer. Here we see the Kingdome,
Heck,
just about a
99.
week before the Mariners' opening day. And you know what? It's not so bad. It's only 23 years old. No tiles have fallen since the 1994 incident, more than 5 years ago. And it offers the ideal controlled environment for Junior, who has a real shot at breaking the all-time home run record one day. The permanently closed roof ensures that the wind won't blow his home run balls back into play. The field dimensions aren't all that friendly to him either. All in all, the Kingdome seems like the perfect place for Junior to make history and establish himself as the all-time... No, shit. No, crab apples.
From Griffey's 1989 debut until that ballpark swan song on June 27th, 1999, Griffey had hit 377 career home runs, 198 of which came at the Kingdome. And whereas about 50.4% of all MLB homers came at home during that time, Griffey's 198 constituted about 52.5% of his career total. An uptick over the average big leaguer that's nothing to sneeze at. But their subsequent move into Safeco Field, their new $500 million home following the '99 All-Star break, meant trading a closed, controlled environment for one that was exposed to the whims of the Seattle elements, which would cost about 10 to 15 feet worth of carry off a hitter's bat. On top of that, Safeco's right field fence was about 15 feet further back than that of the Kingdome.
Ooh.
Griffey was not a fan of the new park or the dimensions of a stadium ironically dubbed the house that Griffey built. So despite Junior's heroics keeping the team in Seattle and getting said house built, in true Mariners fashion, its architect didn't even stick around for its first full season. In the wake of his neighbor and golfer Payne Stewart's tragic death, Griffey realized he wanted to be closer to home and his family. Having rejected a $140 million extension, about a month after the conclusion of the 1999 season, he met with team management seeking a one-way ticket out of town, eventually settling on his native Cincinnati as the destination of choice to continue his career. Just like that, the man who brought Seattle baseball back from the dead, who revitalized an entire fan base, and whose sheer will and refusal to lose got a new stadium built to keep the Mariners in town, was gone, leaving the entire organization reeling and uncertain as to what lay ahead.
As a testament to how short of a time the Kingdome lasted, the Mariners plan to bring in Diego Segui, who threw the first pitch in Kingdome history back in 1977, to also throw the last pitch in Kingdome history. His son David was on the Mariners roster. It would have been a beautiful moment, but the team messed up and somehow failed to pay for his plane ticket, so he turned around and went home. It was enough to make you wonder whether this team could do anything right. Seattle had a ballpark. It was burned down by a serial arsonist, so they found another one, but it was full of mud. So they built another one, but there was poop everywhere. So they built another one, but the sky literally fell. So they built another one. But for reasons that still confound us, they decided on field dimensions that were inhospitable toward the face of their franchise, a factor that fed into his decision to leave town. The Kingdome finale wasn't the final game of the season, but for everyone who had spent all decade marveling at this team, it showed us everything they, and we, were about to lose. In the fourth inning, Griffey dug his cleat into the center field wall to rob Juan Gonzalez of a 3-run homer and preserve the lead. A lead he'd created in the first place with a 3-run homer of his own.
Junior swinging a drive deep to right field down the line. There it goes.
It was the most beautiful swing in baseball. It's the one we always emulated as kids. That's what was going away. An unreal player sending the ball into a concrete sky, watching over rolls and rolls of manufactured grass. There was something saccharine about all of it. Even the story of saving the local baseball team that was ripped straight out of a stupid movie. Of course, in reality, the team had been far more than just him, but to those of us who had marveled at this team all decade, they seemed now like an empty coat. But this is Junior we're talking about. Before him, the Mariners produced nothing but static. From the day he arrived all the way up to the present day, This team has had meaning. Everything that has happened in the 21st century, no matter how chaotic or bizarre, has made a certain amount of sense. And though no one knew it at the time, Junior had left the Seattle Mariners one last parting gift. The footage we're about to see was forgotten for years and years. It's sort of a miracle that this moment is preserved on film at all. No one could have imagined the significance we would one day find in it. It's 1995 in Cincinnati. Junior's gone out to dinner with a camera crew in tow because he's meeting a special guest midway through his tour of America. Junior has even brought along Senior, as well as his son, Trey. You most recently saw him with the Pittsburgh Steelers. The player we're about to meet is a 22-year-old who is already extraordinarily talented. Although it'll be another 5 years before he plays his first Major League Baseball game, Junior presents him with his very own number 24 jersey. The young man's in awe. Like all young players everywhere, he idolizes Griffey. And in fact, not long after this visit, he'll begin to express a profound desire to play on the Mariners one day. This meeting is likely the moment his journey to Seattle began. I think you might know his name too.
Dog. I didn't know that.
I actually didn't remember that. So
I've never seen that thing ever, like that video. I didn't know that had happened. Legitimately.
Yeah. I had seen the video, but for some reason in my head, I was like, yeah, that's like 2001. After. It's like 01, and they're like trying to like, you know how they would have like for Shohei, they had like Ichiro come to try to, you know, get him to come. That I was like, oh, that's 01. Nope. 1995.
That's crazy.
And Ichiro meets the greatest player in all of baseball, and then he watches what they do in 1995. Mm-hmm. How could you not want to come here? $2 from Mike, the greatest Mariner and right fielder of all time. W. Ichiro. I mean, yeah. Imagine if he was able to come over at 22 instead of 27. Damn. How many more hits he would have?
I mean, that, but also like if he's over there, say, and maybe it's not 95, maybe it's 96. I don't know. I mean, if it is 95, add him to the mix, right? Like, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, we're thankfully at this point in this documentary, Joe and I are alive.
Yeah, so, bro. I don't know any. I don't remember anything.
Yeah, I was 5. Joe was 4 when Ichiro came over.
The first memory I have of a Mariners baseball thing, God, I had like a white Brett Boone jersey that I got like Kool-Aid on one of my birthdays, and I ruined it. My parents were pissed because I got it for my birthday that year. Not quite alive. Ian's such a youngin', dude.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, dude, this is great. Like the Channing saying the music gets me every time. They know exactly what they're doing with the way that they have crafted this. You know what I mean?
I mean, the amount of research that would have had to have gone into this for them to be able to, like find the video of Ichiro and Griffey and stuff like that. Like you and I run a Mariners podcast, and you didn't know it happened, and I didn't think anything of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and now, to watch it like this, my first baseball memory, just let me get that
in case
anyone was wondering. Everybody,
if anybody cared at all,
if anybody cared, yeah. My first baseball memory was my parents took me to a game at Safeco. We were sitting in the 100 level down the first base line, probably like 20, 30 rows up. I watched Arthur Rode pitch, and that was really cool. Arthur Rhodes, and he was my favorite player. And I remember about halfway through the game saying, "This is stupid. I want to go home," and falling asleep in my seat.
Hell yeah.
And now I run a podcast with my best friend about this team. So,
but we're fakes. We're hacks. Like I 100% agree.
True. We're not real.
True. Franchise saying that they did like a live Q&A for this. That would be sick.
That'd be so cool.
That would be awesome. Put this at the Seattle Science Center on the screen that we watch Sinners on. right? That big old dual laser IMAX screen. And then do a live Q&A at the end of it. Cinema.
W.
Huge.
I'd love to see it.
Oh, God. I almost started crying there when they're just the lead up to Ichiro, bro. I'm so emotionally compromised in my life. Series continues with part 5. Are we ready for part 5, ladies and germs?
Let's get it rolling.
Let's get it rolling. All right, loud noise in 3, 2, 1. It's not that loud. It's the end of an audio track, so it's actually okay. Ah! Guys. There it goes. 2000 to 2009. It's all downhill from here. Listen, when they come out with parts 6 and part 7 and parts 8, there'll be a meteoric rise once again.
It was A-Rod's team now, and in 2000, he made sure everyone knew it. It can be safely argued that despite missing 2 weeks due to a concussion, he pieced together the greatest individual season in Seattle Mariners history, even to this day. He finished with an incredible wins above replacement figure of 10.4. If you
I'm sorry, did that say he missed 2 weeks?
And still had a 10.4
And still put up 10 wins? Are you kidding me? Holy hell.
choose to take that literally, you could say the Mariners, who barely snuck into the playoffs after narrowly holding off Cleveland in the wildcard race, had Rodriguez to thank. There should have been hope in Seattle. After all, their 91 wins were a new franchise record. But the city had lost Randy Johnson one year, and Junior the next, only to spend another year wondering how in the world they were going to keep A-Rod in town. He was set to become a free agent at season's end, and nearly a dozen teams were ready to drive truckloads of money to his door. This might happen again. It couldn't happen again. After making short work of the White Sox in the first round of the playoffs, they advanced to the ALCS to meet the Yankees. The ancient beast they seemed to have awakened when they beat him back in '95. While the Mariners had spent the rest of the decade watching their massive potential go to waste, Griffey's old arch rival promptly turned around and won the World Series in '96, '98, and '99. A-Rod beat the hell out of him in that series, hitting .409 and leading both teams in total bases. But he confronted the same immutable truth Junior had year after year, that no player, no matter how great, can do it himself. The Yankees sent the Mariners home in 6 games, en route to yet another World Series title, their 4th in 5 years. The loss tore A-Rod's heart out. He had a decision to make now. He could take Junior's road and stick it out, which ultimately ended with him getting homesick and heading back to Ohio without ever having caught his whale. Understandably, A-Rod took the money instead, signing a 10-year deal with the Rangers to complete what was then the largest contract in the history of sports. And being paid what he was worth, he became the villain everywhere he went. Incredibly, both Rodriguez and the Rangers would later say they regretted the deal. A few years later, Rodriguez himself ended up on the Yankees. In a level of vengeance that reads like the Old Testament at this point, the former Seattle fan favorite was bashed relentlessly by New York media and resented by Yankees fans despite putting up incredible numbers. He was just eaten alive out here. It's tempting to wonder how it might have been different. In 1995, when Edgar Martinez hit the double to save Seattle baseball, the batter on deck was a 20-year-old Alex Rodriguez, who hadn't yet done much of anything in the major leagues. You may have noticed him off in the margins of that unforgettable shot of Junior. What if Edgar hadn't hit that double, and A-Rod had a chance to step in and take one of the most consequential at-bats in the history of baseball? Would he have remained a Mariner for life after that? Would his legacy have been different somehow? It's impossible to say. But he was on his own road now. As for the Mariners, their 1990s fever dream had passed. They lost Junior one year, Randy the next, A-Rod the year after that. Edgar was still around and hitting well, but he was 38 years old all of a sudden, and he had been battling issues with his eyesight. He'd had trouble tracking the ball, a terrifying problem for a hitter, and required daily vision exercises just to stay in baseball at all. The aging Jay Buhner was still on the roster, but his career was all but finished. During that Mariners-Yankees season in 2000, Seattle fans had camped out in line outside Safeco Field for World Series tickets. They'd sat out there in the rain for days on end. Among them was a woman there to buy tickets as a gift for her mother, accompanied by her little pet ferret, dressed up in a matching Mariners jersey and ball cap. After days of being rained on and made fun of by passersby, they packed up and went home with nothing. The party was over.
Jesus.
Alex, what the fuck was that?
Coming off that franchise record 91-win season, the Mariners exploded for an MLB record-tying 116 wins, matching the 1906 Cubs. They were among the best in MLB at everything, scoring more runs than everyone and allowing fewer runs than everyone. A pretty significant reason for this domination of the entire MLB landscape stemmed from internal improvement of guys already on the team. Starting pitchers Freddie Garcia and Aaron Seeley each had what was ultimately the best year of their lengthy careers. The ageless Jamie Moyer continued his agelessness as he approached his 5th decade of life, painting corners with his 85-mile-an-hour fastball and off-speed craftsmanship, and joining Garcia in the top 4 of AL Cy Young voting. Arthur Rhodes, Jeff Nelson, and closer Kazuhiro Sasaki spearheaded MLB's best bullpen with an unheard-of for that era ERA of 3.04. Their offense still had Edgar at the tail end of his peak, and they got the best season from the career of Griffey's center field heir apparent, Mike Cameron, in year 2 in the Emerald City. But 2 new bats in particular were what really catapulted a very good team into an absolute juggernaut. Second baseman Brett Boone signed a free agent deal with the Mariners prior to that 0-1 season. The 10-year vet came into the year a career .255 batter who'd never had a 100 RBI season while homering on about 3.2% of his at-bats. From out of nowhere, a suddenly jacked Boone batted .331, drove in his 100th run on August 1st, and had a home run rate that spiked to just a shade under 6% in 2001. Quite serendipitous. And while Buhner missed most of the season with a foot injury, the sun had set on his time in right field regardless, seeded to a new Mariner who was ready to take everything we thought we knew about baseball and flip it completely upside down. To take every limit, ceiling, or boundary we might naturally expect from a ball player and blow it to smithereens. The 2001 American League Most Valuable Player, Ichiro Suzuki.
Where to start? Okay. We think of the balance between science and sentimentalism as a sliding scale, right? If you're more of one, you're less of the other. Well, Ichiro is both in extreme measure. Take his bats, for example. The scientist in him would travel with a custom-built dehumidifier to regulate their moisture content and adjust it according to the climate of the city he was in. The sentimentalist in him once felt so guilty about throwing his bat in frustration that he took it back to his hotel room and tucked it into bed that night, and later wrote a letter of apology to its manufacturer. It is incredibly difficult and almost impossible to innovate as an offensive baseball player. While sports like football and basketball have evolved dramatically over the years, in baseball the cake is pretty much baked. To me, only 4 offensive players have really stood out as iconoclasts whose statistical footprint made clear that they were playing a different variant of the sport, that they found greatness by doing what no one around them was doing. First, Babe Ruth. For the first 50 years or so of baseball, virtually nobody hit more than 20 home runs in a season. Then Ruth set the all-time record with 29, then nearly doubled his own record the next year with 54, and the dam broke after that. Then there was Rickey Henderson, who set the modern single-season stolen base record with 130. No one's come within miles of it in decades, just like no one else has ever stolen anywhere near 1,400 bases. But it was more than just that. He was also a great hitter who was masterful at drawing walks, and was far better than most base stealers at getting on base in the first place. There's only ever been one Rickey Henderson. Of course, we have to acknowledge Barry Bonds, although not for his home run hitting. An on-base percentage of at least 500 is almost unheard of. Only 10 guys have ever done it. Bonds did it 4 times in 4 consecutive years. The fourth and final member of this club is Ichiro, the first ever Japanese position player to break into Major League Baseball, and one of only 32 players ever to retire with 3,000 hits. This shouldn't have been possible. Unlike the other 31 who typically began their Major League careers around age 20, an agreement between Japanese and American baseball prevented Ichiro from entering the majors until his age 27 season. It was a shame, since Ichiro had wanted to play alongside Junior and A-Rod for years, only to finally end up in Seattle right after they both left town. He really had to bust his hump to get into this 3,000 hit club. Junior didn't make it here. Neither did Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, or Ted Williams. Against all logic, despite showing up nearly a decade late, Ichiro did.
In the wake of having spent the first 9 professional seasons of his career in Japan, when he finally arrived in Seattle, his effort to make up for lost time far exceeded anything we'd ever seen in MLB history. From day one, and for a decade moving forward, Ichiro piled up over 2,200 hits. Not only is that by far the most that any player's ever had in any 10-year stretch, but for the most part, Ichiro didn't even need 10 years. He surpassed 2,000 hits during his 9th season. After 2009, he could have actually just been like, nah, I'm good, taken the ensuing season off, and still have been the first player since Pete Rose to have cleared 2K in any 10-year run. There's no one else you can even mention in the same breath. Ichiro simply existed in his own universe of batting wizardry.
3 main factors brought him here. The first was his incredible ability to stay healthy and in shape. In 2017, keep in mind Ichiro had been in the States for more than 15 years by this time, Tom Brady reached out to him to ask about his workout regimen. Ichiro had no idea who he was. Second, his masterful ability to hit anything and place the ball anywhere. We have hit location data dating back to the 1988 season. From then until now, Ichiro has more singles up the middle than anybody, and has more singles to the opposite field than anybody. Within this same window, we can look at every player who managed at least 2,500 hits. In general, their hits landed to a preferred side of the field, or in the middle. They only hit the ball to the opposite side of the field about half as often. Ichiro, meanwhile, was less predictable than anybody, hitting toward left field and right field almost equally as often. Now, a lot of these were infield hits, which brings us to his third superpower, his speed. Again, within this same window, Ichiro legged out more infield hits than anybody. Stat heads will rightly point out here that he only has that many in the first place because his batted ball stayed in the infield so often, which isn't optimal. Who cares? Just watch him in the 2001 All-Star Game, which naturally is in Seattle. Facing off against our old friend Randy Johnson, he dinks one over to first. This should be a guaranteed out, but this is what made Ichiro so exciting. Virtually any ground ball was a 3-second thriller. Remember this, it's 90 feet from home to first, but just 60 from the pitcher's mound to first. Ichiro has 50% more ground to cover than Randy does. Now, let's play it again from the top.
League of hits with 134. Rolls right over to Hutton. Johnson's not there. Base hit.
Ichiro just made up a 30-foot disadvantage in 3.5 seconds. He ran like this on every batted ball in every game he played for years and years. Even if they did throw him out, every ground ball he hit produced a fire drill. I'm not sure there's ever been a more exciting baseball player. Just as compelling as his statistical footprint, which seems to belong to a player from a different age, is the man himself. Ichiro, you bat left-handed despite being a natural righty. Why is that? I don't know. Ichiro, haven't you been intimidated by all these big, strong American pitchers? No. Ichiro, who do you ask for advice when you're in a slump? Me. Ichiro, In just your 8th Major League Baseball game, you made one of the throws of the decade to nail Terrence Long from right field.
Terrence Long, the throw by Ichiro, beautiful, Peggy got him!
How did he do it? Why did he run when I was going to throw him out? Ichiro, what's your dog's name? I don't have my dog's permission to tell you that. Ichiro, what will you do once you retire? I don't know, I guess I'll die. There's something I find really inspiring about Ichiro's friendly, matter-of-fact stubbornness. You can see it in his words and in his play. None of this was supposed to work. None of it was supposed to carry over from Japan. But Ichiro knew it would. And he wasn't going to change a damn thing about the way he played baseball. Analyst and former player Rob Dibble declared at the start of the season that if Ichiro won the batting title, he'd get an Ichiro tattoo on his butt and run around Times Square in a G-string. That season, Ichiro hit .350 and won the batting title, the Rookie of the Year award, the MVP award, a Silver Slugger, and a Gold Glove. Thanks for playing, Rob. Like Junior, Ichiro is one of the most thrilling and unique baseball players the sport has ever seen. And just like the Mariners of the 90s belonged to Junior, the Mariners of the aughts belonged to Ichiro.
Ichiro was a player unlike any other when it came to game-to-game reliability. He was a metronome who had 5 different seasons in which he got a hit in at least 130 games. Not only has no one else ever had more than 2 such seasons, but Ichiro alone counts for nearly a third of all the times that's been done in the integration era. That's just for games with at least 1 hit. How about games with multiple hits? Well, he also had 5 seasons in which he did that in at least 70 games, when, again, no one else has more than twice in this time. That's 5 seasons where he could have been reasonably considered to have a near coin flip chance of multiple hits each and every time out, which, again, accounts for quite a significant chunk of all such seasons. But one of my favorite Ichiro things I've discovered is that in 2004, throughout the 60 games the Mariners played between June 30th and September 4th, he accumulated 120 hits. Put down your calculators, I gotcha. That is an even 2 hits per Mariners game for a period stretching more than 2 months. I was curious if anyone else has ever sniffed a similar cluster of hits across such a lengthy amount of time. Turns out, not really. Here is every instance going back over 70 years of an MLB player reaching even 100 hits across any 60-game stretch of his team season. It's extremely rare. Just not for Ichiro. Propelled by those couple scintillating months, Ichiro put himself in position to wage an assault on George Sisler's 84-year-old record of 257 hits in a single season. A 5-hit outburst on September 21st in Anaheim meant 2004 Ichiro became just the second player to surpass 240 hits since the Hoover administration, joining 2001 Ichiro. They then wrapped up a lengthy road trip with Ichiro standing at 256 hits, just 1 shy of Sisler's mark with a 3-game homestand against the Rangers on deck to wrap up the season. In what was supposed to be a weekend honoring the retiring Edgar Martinez in the final few games of his career, Ichiro wasted 0 time in providing plenty of more festivities to celebrate. To lead off the series, he hit this chopper that found its way to left field.
Strikes on him. And a ground ball, 1 upper, there it is! There's the tie, there's number 257!
Record tied. But things could have soon gone very awry when Ichiro lost his footing while attempting to make a play on this 3rd-inning foul ball. It's cool though. Since he's a cyborg, Ichiro was totally fine to lead off the next frame for his second at-bat of the game, where he officially relegated Sisler to a silver medalist with this bouncer up the middle.
And a ground ball back up the middle, and there it is! He's the new all-time hit king in Major League history, number 258-505!
Seattle was overflowing with pride. Japan was overflowing with pride. Ichiro had reached immortality. He tacked on another 4 hits across his final 12 at-bats for good measure to finish up at 262. Records are meant to be broken, but it would be stunning if this one doesn't last until the sun burns out. On a more macro level, that was the second of 5 career seasons in which he topped 220 hits. No one else has ever done that 5 times, and in the integration era, no one's even close, with Ichiro once again single-handedly accounting for an outsized portion of all such seasons. In the 2001 postseason, despite being on the wrong end of the second most lopsided playoff contest ever in Game 3 of the ALDS in Cleveland that had him on the brink of elimination, they did rally to reach the ALCS and a date with those Yankees. Again, they dug themselves into a mess of a hole, dropping each of the first 2 games at home. Again, they tried to rally with a blowout Game 3 win in the Bronx, followed by this Brett Boone homer that broke a scoreless tie and gave him an 8th inning lead in Game 4. They were on the verge of tying up the series if their bullpen, unflappable all season, could cleanly record just 6 more outs. This is the Mariners we're talking about, so Arthur Rhodes, awesome all year, gave that run back to Bernie Williams in the bottom half of the 8th.
It'll be a 3-2. Swung on and hit high in the air to deep right. That ball is high. It is far. It is gone!
Before Kaz Sasaki, awesome all year, allowed Alfonso Soriano to walk the thing off in the 9th in what proved to be the dagger to Seattle's heart.
And Deal swung on, hit high in the air to deep right center field. Back goes Ichiro on the track at the wall. She's gone!
Seattle had this inconceivable baseball force fall right into their lap, and after falling short that first year together in 01, not even Ichiro could drag the M's back to October baseball. Not in 2002, when an impressive 93 wins were only good enough for 3rd place in the suddenly hyper-competitive AL West. Not in 2003, when they seemed destined for the playoffs, only to suffer a 4-game sweep in late August in Boston. The Red Sox, led by Seattle's old friend David Ortiz, used the series to pull even in the wildcard standings and launch into the postseason over the 93-win Mariners. Since the 1995 advent of the LDS, no other team has ever won 90-plus games in back-to-back seasons, while seeing their invitation to the postseason dance get lost in the mail both years,
Sick.
let alone to have won 93 in each year.
That's so
while
Mariners.
residing in a tiny division. So the post-01 drop-off was shocking. In fact, following that season of pure magic, the Mariners' playoff drought that immediately commenced extended far past just those next couple seasons.
You don't
It spanned
say.
the final 8 years of the aughts. Then the entirety of the 2010s and indefinitely into the great beyond.
Hey, they broke it, guys.
Spoilers.
Just so you guys, you know, John and Alex,
When
they
the
broke it
NFL's
eventually.
Buffalo Bills snagged a wild card spot in the last week of the 2017 season, it bequeathed to the Mariners the longest active playoff drought in the Big Four North American sports leagues. They're the only team that could possibly go from teasing a fan base with a season of record-breaking success directly into a historically long run of ineptitude.
It's our boys.
Boys in blue right there. Seattle Mariners.
If you're only interested in winning and losing, this is the end of the story. 43 seasons, the vast majority of them losing seasons. 3,219 wins, 3,622 losses, 0 championships, 0 World Series appearances. At least some of you will stop watching, and at this point, we don't mind. I mean it. It's really okay.
No, tell us that.
As far as Alex and I are concerned, it's only now that we've gotten to the entire point of all this. The Seattle Mariners challenge us like no other team. By this, I don't mean that they test our patience, although that's certainly true. I mean that they offer us an opportunity to appreciate sports as something more than endless conquest. They've never won a World Series, but ask yourself honestly, does this look incomplete to you? Far be it from me to tell any lifelong Mariners fan how to feel about any of this, but for the rest of us, what is it truly missing? Is it this? Is this what you want? Is it really? Okay, here, take it all in. There's Randy Johnson, shutout against the Marlins in Game 1 of the World Series. There's Edgar, whose 11th inning single drove in the winning run of Game 4. And A-Rod, who dove around the tag to take a 3-1 series lead. There's Buhner, who came off the bench in Game 5 to crush a pivotal pinch hit double. And there's Junior, who stepped into the box in the bottom of the 9th and delivered a 3-run, championship-clinching walk-off. The Kingdom went crazy. What a moment that was. If that's what you wanted, you got what you wanted. Now, of all these stories, what's your favorite? What's the story you're telling first? If that was the one, you aren't ready for this team yet. The Mariners aren't special on account of their lack of success. It's just that success is entirely irrelevant. We've entered another realm here, one that's far larger and doesn't operate on the dead currency of winning and losing. Unless you let those limits go, you're an astronaut who brought your wallet. The Seattle Mariners are not competitors. They're protagonists. Still, there's no denying the heartache. They had already seen the moment pass once. When a second 4-year window opened out of nowhere, they won 393 games, more than any other team in Major League Baseball. They didn't win a World Series or even get to one. That was their shot, and they missed it. If you're having a hard time with this, that's okay. So were the Mariners, starting with manager Lou Piniella. A very real consequence of putting a baseball team in Seattle is that it's just so far away from everything. It's baseball's moon colony, far-flung from even its closest neighbors. It's what Junior found so difficult as a rookie all those years ago. It's one of the reasons he left for Cincinnati in 2000. It's part of being a Mariner. Piniella was from Florida, which, as the crow flies, is closer to Brazil than it is to Seattle. After the 2002 season, the man who took the Mariners to the playoffs 4 times, and the only manager ever to do it at all, left town to manage the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. For a manager of a perennially winning team to up and leave for any other team is virtually unheard of, especially if he's on good terms with the front office, which it seems that Piniella was. But this is the team he left for. The Devil Rays lost 106 games in 2002. They were a horrifyingly bad baseball team. Lou Piniella had traded this for this. But that didn't matter to him. It's testament to just how badly he needed to go home.
We already know all about the Mariners' Randy Johnson trade and how he reached supernova levels immediately upon leaving town. Well, eventually, history would repeat itself with another Randy.
Randy Wynn.
Randy Wynn originally broke into the majors in Tampa during the late 90s, blossoming into an all-star outfielder there by 2002. Upon the conclusion of that season over in Seattle was when Piniella wanted out of his contract so he could manage a club closer to his Tampa home. A club like, say, Tampa. The Mariners obliged, but only if they got significant compensation in return. The Devil Rays thus dangled Wynn, and a deal was consummated.
What?
You didn't know that?
No.
That Randy Wynn was traded to the Mariners for Lou Piniella?
For a manager?
For a manager.
That's
true story.
I had no idea.
I think that was only the second time that's ever happened.
And
I think.
And what is the
I
first?
don't remember was it maybe Larry Cox?
That's I'd never known that.
Let's see.
Yeah, where's Randy Arozarena on that chart for players named Randy all time?
Yeah, what the hell? Let's see.
That's crazy. Why don't they do that more often?
Ozzie Guillen was traded.
Ooh. Interesting.
Let's see. So it's happened 4 times.
Okay.
It was Ozzie Guillen, Lou Piniella, Chuck Tanner, and Joe Gordon.
Sure.
Guillen was traded in 2005.
Okay. Autumn, appreciate the 7 months. Hello.
Autumn, what's up?
Happy off season.
The Marlins sent 2 minor leaguers in exchange for Ozzie Guillen. Don't know who they were.
Crazy.
Yeah. Weird.
That's so
129. You learned about Lou's trade.
Yeah, like I knew that he wasn't the manager after that. I didn't know like the way that Randy Wynn came to be a Mariner and like that it was part of a Lou Piniella trade. Like that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, nothing else interesting. It's happened apparently in the NFL more.
Weird. It's a thing of the past, though. I feel like that's just not something that happens these days.
I'm trading Dan Wilson for Aaron
Shohei
Judge.
Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani.
Or Aaron Judge. Yeah, why not? Okay.
Wynn provided a couple years of above-average play for the M's, all the way up through July 29th, 2005, when he went 4 for 5 with a homer. Then immediately following that game, GM Bill Bavasi flipped him to San Francisco ahead of the trade deadline for a box of Cracker Jacks and a half-eaten ham sandwich.
Your
All
Vitor
he did
Alba
down the stretch as a Giant was hit better than just about anyone else in the league, outside perhaps Todd Helton of Mile High, Colorado. In fact, in September of that 05 season, he became just the 8th player in the integration era to amass 100 total bases within a single calendar month. It's an accomplishment that, as of 2020, no one had done in the generation since Wynn did. So if you're a baseball team in need of a historically strong half-season jolt, just call the Mariners and see if you can pry a Randy loose.
Yo! Randy
and
traded
you
at
wanna
the
guess where
deadline
Randy-
this year.
Oh
Debate.
no.
He played college ball in Santa Clara. Clearly, he just needed to go home.
Let's fast forward just a bit to 2007. I went to school in Seattle, go Dogs, so I've always sort of just kept a corner of my eye out on the M's, since you never know what kind of weirdness they might be up to next.
I was skipping over
And
05
one
without
thing I
talking about
noticed as
Felix.
the 2007
Hold on.
season moved along was that, while maintaining a good
They can still
overall
go back.
record, they frequently came up on the short end of games that weren't particularly competitive. Here's the run differential of every team to win exactly 88 games within the modern 162-game schedule. Most have a very strong differential. All have a positive differential, except for the Mariners, the worst in this sample by miles. They existed in isolation, quarantined off from the rest of the pack who behaved like normal 88-win teams.
Ichiro aside, the Mariners' best player in the back half of the decade was third baseman Adrian Beltre, who they landed in 2005. By the time he finally retired in Texas in 2018, he did so as a no-doubt future Hall of Famer. The season before he headed to Seattle, in fact, he enjoyed the best year of his career with the Dodgers, hitting .334 with 48 home runs and very nearly winning the MVP award over Barry Bonds. So what's this about? Well, you see that M shape right in the middle of this chart? It corresponds perfectly with the 5 years Beltre spent in Seattle. It's like the Mariners dug up their old logo and used it as a pastry cutter to squeeze down the prime years of his career. And as soon as he showed up in town, his wins above replacement fell from 9.6 to 3.2. He wasn't injured either, he was just not the same. After 2009, he left for Boston and his WAR immediately more than doubled. and remained pretty steady until he started to battle injuries nearing age 40. I have never seen a player turn his statistics into visual art like this. Fascinating man. After spending 3 years in the cellar, manager Mike Hargrove was finally turning the team around. He'd been hired after the 2004 train wreck and steadily improved the team from 63 wins to 69 to 78.
Nice.
And in 2007, his Mariners were 11 games over 500 by the end of June. They'd won 7 games in a row, something they hadn't done in 4 years, and were setting themselves up for a strong playoff run. And then the next morning, Hargrove quit. There were no health issues. There was no disagreement with the front office. His heart just wasn't in it, he said. Maybe he was just tired of baseball. He was 57 years old. That happens. Except, only 2 months later, he accepted an offer to manage the BJs, a semi-pro team in Liberal, Kansas. And by this point, you can probably guess why. Hargrove grew up nearby and played for the BJs in the early 70s. He gave up a big salary, a shiny new stadium, and a winning major league team for this. He just had to go home. Managers don't leave winning teams they're on good terms with just so they can manage somewhere else. This never happens. It happened to the Mariners twice in 5 years. Power hitter Richie Sexson was home, more or less, having grown up in Washington State. When the Mariners signed him to a long-term deal in 2005, it should have been a great fit. At 6'8", he satisfied the team's historic interest in tall guys, and his legendary pranks made him a natural fit in Seattle. It's reported that years prior, he would acquire alligators with their mouths duct taped shut and hide them in teammates' lockers. Okay, let's hit pause on this. Do you have any idea how hard it is to tell a story about powerful rich men that last 32 years without an instance of someone doing something morally wrong? These guys never hurt anybody, they just had foibles and misadventures. Stick to taking cows on weird field trips, they don't care. We almost made it all the way to the end of this thing. You blew it, Richie. Anyway, the guy could mash, and we have the cherry picking to prove it. By his age 28 season, he had 2 45-homer years under his belt, putting himself in the company of some of the all-time greatest power hitters. But injuries had thrown a wrench into his career. His home run ability was diminishing, and his batting average, which was never very high, was plummeting. 2008 would turn out to be his final season at age 33. By the 8th of May, the Mariners were already getting cooked, well on their way to one of their worst seasons in franchise history. 2007 was an aberration. This was the new normal. In the 4th inning of that night's game against the Rangers, Richie steps in and does something I have never seen before or since. He takes a pitch from Kason Gabbard that appears to be right over the plate, acts like he's been shot, charges the mound, and chucks his helmet at him. This has to be the only instance in baseball history of a batter throwing at a pitcher without the pitcher throwing at the batter. Richie Sexson was suspended and later traded away mid-season. The Mariners finished with 101 losses that year. They paid a lot of money for the privilege, becoming the first team ever to lose at least 100 games with a payroll of at least $100 million. Ichiro is now the only man left from that magical 2001 season. He'd seen it all fall apart. At the end of the season, a reporter asked him what the team needed to fix. He sat there fanning himself and said through his translator, "We don't have time to explain." Days prior, an anonymous player went to the press claiming that Ichiro's teammates disliked him for his, quote, selfish style of play, whatever that meant, and that one player threatened to knock him out. These largely disappointing years were overseen by general manager Bill Bavasi, who took the job in 2004. Being a GM of a baseball team is an exasperating job. Players either get better or worse for no apparent reason, they suffer freak injuries, and you often have no control over whether or not they get along. Throw in the ridiculous and arbitrary nature of baseball itself, and it's enough to make you lose it. Apparently sensing his days in Seattle were numbered, he made a last-ditch effort to unify his team by attempting a mass citizen's arrest of some kind. Oh no, you can't do that, Bill. People have been thrown in jail for less, Bill. He was fired shortly thereafter. This team wasn't rebuilding, it wasn't a lovable loser, it was just busted. The Seattle Mariners were certainly no strangers to being bad, but after more than 30 years, it seemed like for the first time, they were truly unhappy. And I don't know about you, but at this point, I don't care much about winning. In a perfect world, happiness is all I would want for these people. I want Ichiro to have a good time. I want his old hero Junior to come back so they can play together like Ichiro always dreamed about. I want him to, I don't know, run around the clubhouse and get in tickle fights. I think we've wanted a lot of things.
How are we 4
Mike
years
Blowers
into
was a
Felix's
local
career?
college baseball
Hasn't
star
been mentioned.
and spent 3 different stints playing for the Mariners in the 90s before landing a broadcasting gig with the club following his playing days. And it's perhaps in that latter role where his true legacy lies, because that platform allowed the whole world to realize just who Mike Blowers really is, a spiritual medium. Don't believe me? Well, allow me to introduce you to their ball game in Toronto on September
Tuiasosopo.
27th, 2009, and Blowers' pregame prediction for Player of the Game.
Pitch to click, final game of the series. Mike, who's yours?
Well, I think clearly it's going to be Tuiasosopo today. He swung the bat well the last few times that he's got an opportunity to play. I expect him to hit his first big league home run today.
Second baseman like Tuiasosopo accounted for 189,487 of MLB's at-bats in the Yachts, 4,222 of which resulted in home runs. That's about 2.23% of them, meaning a roughly 1 in 45 shot of correctly pinpointing a particular at-bat in which a second baseman will homer,
Second at bat.
as Blowers did in specifically identifying Tuiasosopo's second at-bat of the game.
He's going to get a fastball from Talent.
Talent was a relief pitcher throughout most of his 10-year career, but he was a starter in 2009. It was by far his busiest season, notching over twice as many innings as any other, and thus reaching a 3-1 count on 70 different occasions, of which he threw a fastball 80% of the time.
And he's going to hit it out of left center field, probably, maybe in the second deck.
Of the 30,260 homers hit by right-handed batters in the 2000s, 17,296 of them were pulled toward left, which amounts to about 57.2%.
On a 3-1 count.
On a 3-1 count?
About 2.61% of the decade's 1.66 million at-bats ended on a 3-1 count, or roughly 1 in 38.
And that's inside ball 3. 3 balls. I've never been strike side on the 3-1 count in my life.
That's the absolutely incredulous Dave Niehaus on the call.
3-1 pitch on the way. Swung on and belted off the left field. It just missed the second deck. Fly away. I don't believe it. I see the light. I believe you, Mike.
At the time, he was in season number 33 calling Mariner games. He had seen it all, or so he thought. Babe Ruth in the 1932 World Series gets the most love for a called home run shot, despite being, Babe Ruth. Blowers confidently called his shot for a 23-year-old fringe big leaguer batting 8th in the lineup who'd yet to ever hit even a single homer, while also including every detail imaginable. And he nailed it all. If there has ever been a more eerie sports prophecy, I have not seen it, because it does not exist.
Pause there for a second. Franchise, appreciate the 5. Appreciate, and then Lucario earlier as well, $1.99. W idea shout out. Baseball is a journey that occasionally results in a destination. Somehow, some way, you arrive all at the right time.
That's right. I mean, you think about the events that had to occur for all this to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a butterfly flapped its wings.
Yeah.
And that made Driscoll start burning places,
Mm-hmm.
start arsoning and such. And then all of a sudden, Matt Tuiasosopo,
Yep.
is hitting a home run in Toronto. Yeah, it's crazy.
That is such a good, it's just a good clip, a good, moment.
Dave's call is awesome.
Yeah, no, it's just pandemonium, essentially.
I see the light. And then just Rick in the background.
Yeah, just losing his mind. Mike is a time traveler, and he chose the Mariners moment to tease it.
That's right.
It's like I won the lottery. You won't know, but there'll be signs. Like Mike Blowers is a time traveler. You won't know it, but there'll be signs.
The reason that Mike Blowers is no longer with the Mariners broadcast is he's on to another. another time frame. He had to go,
He traveled away.
He's like 40 years in the future right now, so we'll see him.
We'll get a letter. It'll be outside the stadium, and it's like, it's Blau! And then we'll have to go travel back to the Old West. It's Back to the Future 3. You get it.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna click the video now.
All right.
Watch this be the end of this part.
The same season, another Mariners' luck turned in a different direction. You see, Adrian Beltre famously didn't wear a cup at third base. When he was a rookie, the Dodgers tried to get him to wear one, even fining him every time he didn't. He refused, and they eventually gave up. All was well. Until August 12th, 2009. The bad energy of the moment seemed to emanate throughout the stadium, spreading bad vibes and disrupting electronics. The home plate camera pulled all the way out, which it never ever does on an infield play. The third base side camera didn't really catch it. We don't really get a good look at it. Maybe it's for the best. Incredibly, Beltre stayed in the game and even scored the winning run in the 14th inning. But it would be a few weeks before he played again. Even then, he refused to wear a cup throughout the rest of his career, reasoning, I already had 3 kids. I don't want it anymore. Fair enough. September 1st. It's his first at-bat since the injury. His walk-up music plays.
Mike Butcher, a word or so at the mound. And here comes Beltre, who's missed 18 games.
You hear that? You recognize it? Prior to the game, one of Beltre's teammates had secretly arranged to have his walk-up music changed to the Nutcracker Suite. Who would be so juvenile? Who on earth would do such a thing?
Guess who's back?
Some would point out that the Mariners' re-signing of Ken Griffey Jr. was little more than a crowd-pleasing concession. Who cares? He was 39 now, about the same age his father was when they signed him as a publicity stunt decades ago. Jr. certainly wasn't anything close to the player he used to be, but he still had a little power in his bat. More importantly, he immediately turned the clubhouse culture around. While 2008 was rife with finger-pointing and temper tantrums, an older, wiser Jr. sort of loosened everyone up and pulled the team together. In particular, he made a point to bring Ichiro into the fold. What largely went unsaid during Ichiro's career is that it was often a lonely experience for him. Like Jr., who mostly wanted to spend time with his family and play Nintendo, Ichiro mostly just wanted to go home to his wife, dog, and comic books. And although he'd picked up some English over the years, the language barrier was still very real. Those around Ichiro said they'd never seen him so happy in the clubhouse. Ichiro and Jr. were inseparable. And Ichiro would later say that his friendship with Jr. was, quote, close to a miracle. Their lockers were right next to each other, and the two late 30-somethings were constantly seen shoving each other around and giggling. The only way they could have been more adorable is if they routinely got into tickle fights in the clubhouse. Which they did, constantly. It was a perfect world. Ken Griffey Jr. probably knew by this point that he was never going to play in a World Series. He had never had any say in that, no matter what he did with his bat or his glove. But this he could change, and he did. He fixed this team. With the benefit of hindsight, we know that on-field contention wasn't in the cards for the Seattle Mariners, and has never been to this day. That was never happening. The only fight left was for happiness. For a year, at least, it was a fight they won. Junior's years in Cincinnati didn't go the way anyone wanted. In his 8.5 seasons there, the Reds were never a serious contender, leaving him once again to his individual pursuits. The big one, the one everyone wanted to see, was Griffey's challenge of the all-time home run record. Nobody expected him to keep up this breakneck pace throughout his career, but soon after he landed in Cincinnati, his numbers fell off a cliff. He just kept getting hurt. It's one of the most frustrating things I've ever seen as a sports fan. Over a 6-year span, he'd missed more than 400 games, about 2.5 seasons worth. His bid to become the greatest home run hitter of all time was over. Junior was never reaching the mountaintop, not as a member of a team, and not individually in the short term or the long term. By the time he finally returned to Safeco Field as a visiting player in 2007, the future we'd all imagined for him had disappeared, but Mariners fans didn't care about any of that. They went nuts for him. And when Junior's bat came back to life at the end of the 2009 season, everyone went nuts for him again. He hit 3 home runs in the final homestand and smacked a single in his last at-bat. After the game, teammates threw Junior and Ichiro up on their shoulders and paraded them back to their dugout. Alex and I have spent months dwelling on the
Carlos
Mariners,
Silva and Ryan
what they
Langerhans,
need,
let's go.
what they're for, how to
Names.
appreciate them, the ultimate irrelevance of on-field success, the importance of celebrating a team for what it is and not for what it could be. And then I watch this. It's as though this team and these fans understood it all along. I was late to the party. You're looking right now at a team that isn't going to the playoffs. They didn't even really come close.
Jose Lopez.
But they're getting a standing ovation and waving their caps in gratitude. This is Whoville. I have never ever seen another team do this. This team and these fans aren't celebrating any kind of on-field accomplishment. They're celebrating one another. They're celebrating themselves. In this moment, the baseball gods offer Junior the perfect ending to his career. Something like a World Series title would have compromised the lesson here. His career should have ended at this moment, one in which he was the subject of unconditional love. But Junior didn't take the baseball gods up on this offer. He would return for one more year. Things can never be simple. Things will never end the way they're supposed to. Not for Ken Griffey Jr., not for the Seattle Mariners.
Colton, I'm kind of with you. How are we one whole video dedicated to 2000 and 2009 and Felix Hernandez hasn't been mentioned?
Not mentioned one time.
He
by
doesn't
the way.
exist. This is like people who complain about Miguel Tejada and Barry Zito's omission in Moneyball.
Yeah,
That's what I feel like right now.
They don't exist.
They don't exist.
Wow. I really didn't think we'd get to 2010 without.
Because I mean they've done the thing where they go back. Like they jump ahead a couple years, like they're trying to finish like storylines, if that makes sense, and then they can go back and talk about Felix, and like there's space on graphics there, there's space in the calendar. The next episode belongs to Felix. Patience, Grasshopper. No, absolutely, but it's just kind of funny.
You gotta at least mention him, you know.
Like,
by the way, this guy started pitching this year. Anyway, let's keep going.
Well, no, but like the thing that they've done in like episodes 2 is like, I guess it doesn't really make sense for the way that this one was framed, because like this is like the transition between like things has been like it ends with Ichiro, it ends with like, I mean, the Ichiro ending, the Griffey ending, and stuff like that. But obviously, this one doesn't make sense to end with Felix, like the introduction of Felix. You know what I mean? It makes more sense to end it leaving with a cliffhanger to kind of understand, try and like get into what the Griffey and the end of the Griffey thing is. You know what I mean?
That's right. Yeah, it's very true.
Chill the heck out, Mike. Listen, okay.
I'm gonna pee before we start.
That's fine. Listen, man. I don't have any. It's not like an actual complaint. It is just kind of funny. You know, I know we'll get Felix. You can't tell the story of the 2000 and 2010 Mariners without telling the director's a fan of Tarantino. There you go. We'll do non-chronological storytelling. You can't tell the story of the Mariners without Felix. And I know, there's a perfect game in here, you know? Ever seen Jackie Brown? Of the Tarantino movies, I have not seen that one. And that's one of few that I haven't seen. But yeah, I know we'll get Felix. We're joking for the most part. Like, we're not actually upset about it.
My chair's sinking. I'm so
fat, thick. Where's the Joe crying clip? I don't know if anybody clipped it, Kyle, but I was crying yesterday. It's really funny. Do you really think John Boyce would skip the second best pitcher of Mariners history? We never thought that that Felix would get skipped.
Second best?
I think second best in terms of overall ability. Sure. Is he the best pitcher in Mariners history? Like, you know?
Felix, yes, 100%.
Yeah, like, is Felix better than Randy as a Mariner? Like, in terms of like what he 100%. Did as a Mariner? Like, he's got more years. If Randy had pitched his entire, like, you know, the same amount of years as Felix, obviously Randy would be better. But make a Joe crying emote for the channel plus Discord. God,
that would get used so many times during
the hard part is
Anonymous.
The hard part is for that specific picture that Manny screenshotted is like, our cameras are small for like the layout, just so that way it's like not a stretched res thing for the video. And then I'm also like leaning back, so like I'm in my camera frame like pretty small, like because I was leaned back crying. So, but Mike, appreciate the $2.
Going straight to the Shave Colton's Head Fund. Yep.
So that's what is the Shave Colton's Head Fund?
Oh, well, see, so Joe and I, well, obviously we're going to spring training, and I was telling Joe last week how there's this like mini mic that I want to get so that we could like record, right? Sure. And I'm like, I simply just can't afford it before we go down there. And so then I got to thinking, and I'm like, man, everybody loved the fundraiser last year. Everyone's favorite thing that we did. And I'm like, you know, like if we just do live streams and we'll set like a live stream goal. But then I was like, well, we're gonna do this first. So
yeah.
Then like I'm gonna go live at some point during the fan fest while I'm there. I'm gonna go live and do like a Q&A thing. Season ticket members can go up to the Terrace Club and just hang out up there. So I'll probably do it from up there. But anyway, I'll probably have like a donation goal for that. And then, yeah, it was, I don't remember what I wrote down. I made a graphic and everything.
Oh, nice.
For this stream fundraiser thing. It was, and I quote, for $250, we'll give away a Mariner Mojo swag bag. For $500, I'll give away an Edgar autographed baseball card.
Nice.
For $750, 2 Terrace Club tickets, one of the deals from Costco.
Do those exist?
They do, yeah. It's actually a really cool deal. I mean, assuming that, yeah, they're back. Like,
okay.
There were some
because we were trying to do it for the charity stream and we couldn't find any.
$1,000 I'll shave my head, and $2,500 I'll get a Mariners tattoo. I will let Joe shave my head in spring training if we get to $1,000, but I'm not doing the reverse mohawk.
Okay, just
you can
bald.
Start with that. You can start with the reverse mohawk, and we can do it on stream, and we can see ha.
Yeah, funny ha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll agree to do it with you again because I mean I'm like already
shave
there.
Your head every day.
Yeah,
doesn't matter anymore.
I'm committed to bald Joe over here, but yeah, I mean I'll let it grow from now until spring training, and if we reach $1,000 as far as like fan funding related things over the next, what is it, I guess month, 4 weeks, then we'll shave our heads. That's crazy.
That's right. Yeah, let's do it.
Nice.
I mean, I've never shaved my head. I've never not had this mop.
Yeah.
And it's kind of scary because that's the only reason that people recognize me. Bald is better.
It's like I don't like hate it. I do miss growing out my hair a little bit, but it it is what it is.
Yeah.
Going to FanFest on Sunday, W.
Yeah, I'll be there both days. So, but I am going to be doing some filming and stuff for some videos that I'm going to post. So I probably won't be like, around. I mean, if you see me, obviously come up and say hi, but I got a game plan.
Careful. Colton hates you guys. He's not going to say hi.
I hate you guys. Hey, you know what? I know that you're not going to like this, Joe. But in spring training, I want to do another thing like we did in the pen that one time.
Oh, sure.
Trivia thing. I think that'd be really fun. Get like an actual big sign. I think that'd be fun. And just stand at the backfields.
Oh,
not at the actual game, but the backfields.
At the backfields. Interesting.
I think that'd be really fun.
Okay. So we can go to Michael's while we're down there and make a sign.
Yep. I've been purchasing like Mariners autographs off of eBay every now and again. So far I've only gotten some cheap ones, obviously. Like I think I got an Emerson Hancock one. So stuff like that.
Hell yeah.
Anyway,
Franchise had a question about Felix's number getting retired in the Mariners Hall of Fame. Serious question. When is 34 getting retired? Do they want to wait for a potential Hall of Fame? What is stopping the M's from doing it right now? I feel like probably waiting until there's that chance that he does get in to like do it in one fell swoop as like a big celebration to not only celebrate Felix as a Mariner, but Felix as a Hall of Famer for the entire sport would probably be the best guess. And the way that his percentages have gone as far as voting so far, early returns are good for, I think, that idea. So I think you're spot on, Franchise, with that thought process.
Yeah, you look at the guys that have had their numbers retired with the Mariners, and all of them up to this point are in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, Randy's going to get his retired this coming season. He's in the Hall of Fame, just not as a Mariner, but you're going to get like the only one who had it where it was before they got into the Hall of Fame was Edgar. And that was a part of a big push to get him into the Hall of Fame.
So maybe they could do something like that again, though, with Felix, of like his numbers plateau in some way.
Right.
Maybe.
Yep. As a way to try to boost his numbers. Yeah. I mean, that would be years down the line when he hits, his like 8th or 9th year on the ballot, but still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're going to be down there, Mitchell, March 1st to the 14th. So. Not
mainly through the 13th. We're leaving at 5 a.m. on the 14th.
True. So. That is true. It is the 1st to the 13th. I should probably change the way I say that. It's the
I've been saying it the same way.
Yeah. I didn't think about it until, yeah, that makes sense. Rick's last season, win it for Rick. There's a shirt, MarinerMojo.com.
Yeah, I'll go get it.
Lucario Colton is going to FanFest both Saturday, Sunday. I will not be there because I'm stupid and broke, according to Manny. Once Colton gets the Win It for Rick shirt posted, I will continue and we will watch the last 52 minutes of the history of the Mariners.
Remember, chat, 50% of all proceeds of the Win It for Rick shirt are going to Rick Riz's Toys for Kids Foundation. They're sick looking. Thank you. I'm not graphic design's my passion. I'm not good at it. Joe's the shirt guy, but I had this idea and I'm like, I think you did get it out.
I think you did great. It's simple and it works.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I would have probably overcomplicated it.
Go buy the shirt, Smile, and half the proceeds go to Rick Riz's Foundation, which I think the proceeds are about $10 a shirt. So $5 per purchase is going to go, give or take, to the Rick Riz's Foundation, which will be cool.
My manager, my old Starbucks manager, this is random. He just texted me. It's his son's birthday and they were opening cards and he just pulled a Nick Becker auto Bowman.
How much you want for it?
I don't know.
Ask him how much he wants for it. I would love a Nicky Becker auto.
That's crazy. It's his birthday card. He's not going to give that up.
Tell him I'll send him in the San Francisco area, huh?
Yeah.
How about an Athletics Jesus Luzardo autograph?
Bag.
Easy,
buddy. Oh, that's funny. I probably still have some Hunter Bishop stuff. Giants.
Again. Yeah. There you go.
I could swing that way.
I think I have a Tyler Fitzgerald autograph somewhere. Oh. So hey, now we're talking.
We can barter.
All right, hit it.
We ready for the finale?
How is Felix not even on this graphic?
Okay, stop it.
What? 1986.
The instinct to go home can be overwhelming, but actually doing so is a different matter. It's 1986. The Yankees are a few innings into a game. Their left fielder, Ken Griffey Sr., is supposed to be there, but he's not. He's so miserable as a Yankee that he's decided to stay home across the river in Jersey and skip the game entirely. The team has sent a state trooper to check on him. Senior ignores him, walks to his car, and drives south, as far away from the Bronx as he can get. After an hour or so on the Jersey Turnpike, Senior turns around and drives back. Junior returns for another year at age 40, playing exclusively as a designated hitter. He's hitting .184. He's awful. By certain measures, owing to the level of production expected from a DH, 2010 Ken Griffey Jr. is on his way to becoming one of the worst players in the history of Major League Baseball.
Damn.
Weeks ago, a couple of teammates leaked to the press that Junior had been found sleeping in the clubhouse in the middle of a game. Junior didn't deny it, but the betrayal hurt him. Everything hurts, in fact. It's the bottom of the 9th inning on May 31st. He's sent to pinch hit with a man on first. He's got a bad knee, and it makes his swing look terrible. His old swing, the most graceful swing baseball has ever seen, belongs to the past now. He slaps it foul. They put up a chyron to tease us with what everyone in the building wants to see. Just one more Ken Griffey Jr. walk-off home run. He hasn't hit a home run all year. That is not going to happen. Nick's pitch is low and away. Junior used to love these. He reaches at it like a shop owner shooing a rat outside, serving up an almost custom-made double play. But Justin Morneau can't dig the throw out of the dirt. Junior's safe, despite having lurched to first like a kid wearing his dad's boots. A pinch runner is called, and he leaves the game. That night, Junior picks up a couple bottles of Mountain Dew, gets in his car, and drives east. He tells nobody. His old buddy, Jay Buhner, gets a call from a friend, insisting up and down he just saw Ken Griffey Jr. filling up his car at a gas station in Montana. That's impossible. The Mariners have a game in Seattle today. But it's him. He couldn't stay another minute. He couldn't wait any longer. He misses his family in Orlando, Florida immensely, and he's driving home to him without stopping to rest. It's a journey that, by his account, takes 43 hours. You can doubt him if you'd like. Just remember who you're doubting. He calls his dad 3 times along the way and tells Senior how happy he is with what he's doing. He just has to go home. There is no press conference, no ceremony, no parade. Just 2 headlights in the dark.
Welcome to the Felix Hernandez era.
Thanks, it started 5 years ago.
Getting real groovy, baby. Come on.
The crown jewel of recent Mariner history carried the team on his back for years. Well, at least as much as a starting pitcher can, because, you see, no matter how well one pitches, it won't put any runs on the board for his own team. And when it came to run support, forget halfway, Mariner bats generally couldn't even meet him one step of the way. For instance, in 2010, the 24-year-old Hernandez pitched magnificently, yet didn't even make the All-Star team as his 7-5 record was deemed too underwhelming by voters stuck in the Stone Age. When the season wrapped up, his 13-12 record was even worse. That's because the Mariners scored a pitiful 513 runs that year, the fewest by any team in a full season since 1972. Ouch. And for Felix, they were somehow even worse. Take a look at the run support his lineup gave him in his 12 losses. Plating 4 in Anaheim actually serves as an outlier here, having scored an embarrassingly low 10 runs across the other 11 games. Obviously, none of this is any sort of indictment of Hernandez, who was clearly the American League's very best pitcher. Fortunately, there was no doubling down on his egregious All-Star snub, and he was able to rightfully win the AL Cy Young Award. To put in context how meager the help he got was, here are each of the 110 instances a starting pitchers won that award through 2019, sorted by the percentage of their decisions constituted by losses. Before Felix, no starting pitcher to win Cy Young had a mark north of 40. Hernandez at the very top is all the way at 48%. In the time since, Jacob deGrom's topped 40, but that's it. No one else has ever even come close. It requires a special brand of incompetence to take a season so special by a pitcher, yet not even have any inherent advantage in the ball game when he's on the mound. He also did something that's only been done by 2 other AL pitchers in the 21st century: toss at least 7 innings while allowing no more than 2 earned runs in over 20 different games, with no one in 2010 even in his neighborhood. The Mariners managed to take one of the very great pitching seasons in recent history and completely waste it. Oh, by the way, the other 2 AL pitchers who have done so this century? 2009 Felix Hernandez and 2014 Felix Hernandez. But I want to focus on a game from 2012 for a sec. Specifically, the afternoon of August 15th with the Tampa Bay Rays in town, though they would have been better off just pushing the snooze button and not bother even showing up. And really, after Felix sat everyone down the first time through the lineup, his own outfielders, for the most part, didn't even need to be there either. Trayvon Robinson, Michael Saunders, and Eric Thames could have just not taken their regular posts in the field after the 3rd inning, and with the exception of just one Ben Zobrist flyout, it would have had 0 implications in how the game played out, because the other 17 of Tampa's final 18 plate appearances resulted in 10 strikeouts and 7 weakly hit balls to infielders. It was also one of just 4 times ever a pitcher struck out a dozen in a perfect game. Combine that with barely ever allowing a ball to even leave the infield, and a reasonable case can be made that this was as dominant as any pitching performance in the history of baseball. It all culminated at 3:02 p.m. with this corner-kissing changeup that left Sean Rodriguez more frozen than absolute zero in what was truly a crown-earning masterpiece authored by King Felix. And given that Seattle scored a par for the course, lone, singular run, anything less
Jesus
than
Montero,
that
by the
likely
way.
wouldn't have been enough. But he made that moot because through and through, Felix was perfect.
34 years, 119 games, it's finally happened. A perfect game by a Seattle Mariner. It was done by the King.
That is what's known as the King's Court, the special section in left field reserved by the team every time King Felix takes the mound. No one else ever got that honor, not even Junior. See, even among this pantheon, Felix is special. These were fans who, just a few weeks prior, had to watch their most beloved superstar walk out the door. It was a trade Ichiro had requested. Not only that, it was a trade to the Yankees, who the Mariners were hosting for a 3-game series. His first at-bat in pinstripes, just hours after leaving the Mariners.
Yeah, I
came in
remember
Safeco
that.
Field. Were this
I
any
took
other
a
team
nap and then I
or
woke up,
any other city, this
got
could
the
have been
news.
ugly. And yet, nothing was going to change their love for Ichiro Suzuki. They cheered him when he gave a bow, and they cheered him again when he smacked an 0-1 pitch into center field.
Look at that space hit up the middle.
It was a decision Ichiro had made out of love. He knew that he was expensive, that his skills were declining at age 38, and that room had to be made for the Mariners' rebuilding efforts. The Seattle fans, by and large, really seemed to get it. As silly as it feels to reduce an entire fan base to a monolith, it felt that by this point they'd graduated to an elevated appreciation of the sport. They love the game and the team and its people. When you appreciate sports in this way, your happiness is no longer staked to these stupid P&L charts. There are no limits anymore. The love you can send is endless. You can give it to the one who's wearing a different uniform now, the one you're supposed to hate the most. And of course, you can also give it to the one who stuck around. Felix stuck around for 15 seasons, longer than any Mariner in history aside from Edgar Martinez. The following winter, at the peak of his powers, he could have entered free agency and gone wherever he wanted. Instead, he stayed. While the Mariners did pay him well, Felix surely passed up truckloads of money to stay with this team, the one that had been terrible almost the entire time he'd been here. Virtually anyone else with his transcendent ability never would have done that. Junior didn't. Randy didn't. A-Rod didn't. Felix did. And in so doing, he paid a price. In terms of wins above replacement, these are the top 50 pitchers of the 21st century, plotted by the number of trips each of them took to the postseason. A lot of Felix's peers have appeared in the playoffs on a regular basis. The vast majority have been at least 4 times. Nearly all have been there multiple times. Felix, having lashed his fate to that of the Mariners, is the only one who has never appeared in a single playoff game.
Criminal. Absolutely criminal.
Not that he didn't come close. He came so close. Major League Baseball had expanded its playoff format to allow for a second wildcard team in each league, and in 2014, the Mariners and Athletics battled for that final spot. The win-loss chart looks like 2 people trying to avoid a party. Once the A's began to falter, the Mariners timidly abandoned their positive momentum and hid behind them. On the morning of the final game of the season, the spot was still up for grabs. A Mariners win that afternoon, coupled with an A's loss down in Texas, would force a 1-game tiebreaker that could spring Seattle into their first playoff appearance in 13 years. And guess who got the ball? The first pitch of the A's game is scheduled about 1 hour before the Mariners game. Seattle fans in the stadium are likely to hear the final score of that one in the middle of this one. They'll need a distraction, and they'll get one in the form of a Felix Hernandez masterpiece. Felix mowed down the first 2 Angels, then gave up a single to Albert Pujols. It's all they would get out of him, as he immediately sent Pujols back to the basement with the 3rd out. He was throwing gas, at one point striking out 4 in a row, then coaxing out 6 straight infield grounders. The ball hadn't even left the infield in more than 3 innings. After 5 innings pitched, no earned runs, 1 hit, no walks, 7 strikeouts. On this Sunday afternoon, King Felix was invincible. Mariners fans are intently watching 2 things, the game on the field and the game on the scoreboard. As any baseball fan will tell you, the latter is an especially nerve-wracking experience. It tells us so little, but it does tell us that in the bottom of the 9th, with a man on first, the Rangers have the beginnings of a rally going. On the field, meanwhile, the Mariners' newly acquired superstar, Robinson Cano, singles to lead off the bottom of the 5th. Here, everything is as it should be.
And it's over. Congratulations to the Oakland Athletics. They hung on.
Yeah, that sucked.
A foul ball sails into King's Court. A fan makes a beautiful barehanded grab. They're going crazy. They haven't heard yet. But Felix has. His face here says everything. In his 10 years with the Mariners to this point, Felix Hernandez has never come anywhere near this close to playoff contention. And to this day, he's never come this close again. And God, how he wanted it. With the playoff race over, manager Lloyd McClendon gives Felix the rest of the day off. He sends him out to the mound in the 6th, just so the fans can send him off with an ovation. And as such, Felix is officially credited with 5 1/3 innings pitched. This is every start of exactly 5 1/3 innings between 1904, the earliest our available data stretches back, and the end of this 2014 season. In total, there were 9,777. They're plotted here by game score, which is a metric developed by renowned baseball writer Bill James. Game score is a rating meant to assess the overall quality of a pitching performance. Felix's game score that day was 73. It appears likely to have been the greatest start of exactly 5 1/3 innings in the history of Major League Baseball. The Mariners have taught us time and time again that no player can do it alone. As a pitcher who, at his best, was capable of completely taking over a baseball game like no one else could, Felix Hernandez came closest to breaking this rule. But even when you can, you can't. The Mariners are out in the great beyond now. Throw away your compasses, they don't work out here. While normal teams experience years-long phases of success and recovery, since 2013, the Mariners have had a losing record, a winning record, a losing record, a winning record, a losing record, a winning record, and a losing record. There's no reasonable way to set expectations for where they'll end up in any given season. This is the footprint of a team that refused to truly, fully rebuild. And who can blame them, because rebuilding is boring. Instead, they did something they'd never really tried before. In the 90s, they built their teams from the ground up, drafting Junior and A-Rod, landing Randy in a trade as an afterthought, and signing Edgar out of a General Electric factory. The makeup of the unbelievable 2001 team was a lot different. They landed one megastar at a great price and surrounded him with a rock-solid supporting cast. In the aughts, they became relatively big spenders in the free agent market for the first time, landing Adrian Beltre and Richie Sexson. But this time they seem to wonder, what if we pay an absolutely gigantic pile of money to one guy? Hey, what was that lesson we've been learning over and over and over for the last 30 plus years? That one person can't bring a team to greatness? What the hell. It was one of the most unexpected free agent signings ever, and it was as though they were trying to counteract the tide of history. Randy Johnson later went on to become a Yankee. So did A-Rod, so did Tino Martinez, so did Ichiro. Thanks to his undying blood feud, the Yankees never could have had Junior, but they could have had just about anything else they wanted. And yet, it was the Mariners, the team that almost never made a splash in free agency, who came out of nowhere to pry a superstar second baseman out of New York. 10 years, $240 million. The Mariners, of all teams, had given out one of the largest contracts in the history of sports. And the architect behind the deal was his agent, Brody Van Wagenen. Do me a favor and remember that name for a minute if you could. Anyway, Cano and Van Wagenen made off like bandits because at the time of the deal, Cano was already 31 years old. There was no denying how great of a player he was, but the Mariners should have known he'd regress in his 30s.
I didn't know he was. I didn't think about
Cano
he
was
was
still
31.
quite productive. Only 2 of his 5 seasons in Seattle were Cano caliber. In 2018, Cano was popped for allegedly violating the league's PED policy and suspended for 80 games. After the season, the Mariners were lucky enough to escape this deal when they flipped him to the Mets, who assumed most of the remainder of his contract just in time to watch his numbers completely bottom out. Aside from Cano, the big winner in this deal was Brody Van Wagenen, who pulled off one of the most one-sided deals of the century. The big loser, clearly, was the Mets GM. Who was Brody Van Wagenen, who went from big-time baseball agent to front office exec, a career jump I have never heard of before, just in time for him to accept the butt end of his own deal. I have no explanation for this. Maybe he was just trying to be polite. At any rate, Robinson Cano did make the Mariners a slightly better team than they would have otherwise been. The 2016 squad deserves your sympathy. They had the 4th best run differential in the league, scoring 61 more runs than they allowed. That ought to be enough to get you in the playoffs, especially in the new 5-team format. But while their neighbors did, they didn't. By a wide margin, the Texas Rangers won the AL West instead, despite a far less impressive run differential. Pythagorean wins and losses solve for this by presenting the record you would expect from a team based on their run differential. Looking at the Mariners differential, you'd expect 87 wins, which is almost exactly what they got in real life. But looking at the Rangers, you'd expect far fewer than 95 wins, only 82 in fact. This suggests that the Rangers got lucky and scored at the right times throughout the season, and if it weren't for that, the Mariners would have handily won the West. This is a make-believe tool for nerds with nothing better to do than count beans all day. That describes me accurately, so let's continue. Here we see the differences between Pythagorean wins and actual real-life wins of every team in the integration era. There are nearly 1,800 teams here. Some got incredibly unlucky, ending with far fewer wins than their run differential would suggest. The vast majority ended up about where you'd expect, give or take a couple of wins. Some got really lucky, but the one team that got absurdly lucky, luckier than anyone in modern times, was that 2016 Rangers team. Awesome. That outrageous amount of luck is what kept Seattle out of the playoffs that year. Now, the 2018 Mariners, who won 89 games and missed the playoffs, do not feel bad for them. Here's the run differential of every team to win exactly 89 games within the modern 162-game schedule. Most have a very strong differential. All have a positive differential. Except for the 2018 Mariners, the worst team in this sample by miles. Let's visit this chart again. On the list of luckiest teams of the modern era, these Mariners are right behind those Rangers at number 2. If this sounded familiar, it's because I stole Alex's script word for word when he talked about 2007, when the Mariners pretty much did the exact same thing. The modern Seattle Mariners are not cursed, they're not hopeless, they're free. The burden of greatness is gone. The age of expectations is over. They're free to luxuriate in what seems today like an endless epilogue. Rudderless and profoundly weird, just like they were in the early days. It's certainly true that strange, stupid things happen to every baseball team, but put simply, the Mariners have a gift.
We're not going to talk about 2016
gifts,
Nelson Cruz.
One of them was arguably as shocking a home run as there's been in big league history. Let's reach back just a bit to 2008, now that you're familiar with Felix. We already know all about his pitching prowess, but back when he was just a 22-year-old kid, he hit this grand slam against the Mets in Shea Stadium on just his 9th career at-bat.
Fly away! Get out the rye bread and mustard, Grandma!
From the Mariners' 1977 birth through the 2019 season, that was one of 233 bases loaded plate appearances by an AL pitcher. It was the only one to result in a grand slam.
Go.
Okay, that's neato and unlikely. But want to know what made it exponentially more neato and unlikely? That lone, unique grand slam of its kind was hit off the pitcher who had the very best ERA in all of Major League Baseball that season. In fact, Johan Santana was in the midst of what was arguably the greatest season of his career. A career that earned multiple Cy Young awards. On top of that, he hadn't allowed a grand slam in nearly 5 years and over 1,000 innings. And that streak was snapped by a pitcher. An AL pitcher. A pitcher who, by his own admission, had never hit a home run at any level of the sport since Little League. There is nothing on this planet that makes less sense than baseball. It turned out to be the penultimate grand slam ever hit by a road player at Shea Stadium. The very final one, also hit by a pitcher, the Cubs' Jason Marquis. Again, nothing about this sport makes a lick of sense.
In 2010, the Mariners took a reasonable gamble on Eric Burns. Once an MVP candidate, Burns was signed for the minimum after a couple of injury-filled years that nearly took him out of baseball altogether. The first few weeks were really rough for Burns, who was hitting just .111. But the Mariners were playing .500 baseball. On April 30th, they took the Rangers to extra innings with a chance to snag a winning record. In the bottom of the 11th, with Burns at the plate and Ichiro on third, manager Don Wakamatsu calls a suicide squeeze. If successful, there are few more exciting ways to win a baseball game. The idea here is that Burns bunts, the lightning-fast Ichiro bolts for home before the ball's even left the pitcher's hand, and he slides into the plate before Frank Francisco can cleanly field the ball and toss it to the catcher. This is always an extremely risky call, because the whole thing all depends on Burns being able to make contact with the bunt. If he doesn't, Ichiro will be completely hung out to dry. Burns has to get his bat on it, no matter what. The 11-year veteran squares to bunt. Francisco delivers. The pitch is headed low and outside. What are you doing? It defies explanation. With Ichiro's fate on the line, Burns pulls back the bunt. He seems to immediately realize his mistake, reflexively poking his bat back over the plate, even though the pitch has been thrown already. This is now a homicide squeeze. Ichiro, because he's Ichiro, almost pulls it off anyway, getting to the plate mere milliseconds after the tag. This would have been the game winner. Instead, Ichiro's out, Burns strikes out to end the inning. The Rangers win it in the 12th. The Mariners kick off an 8-game losing streak. They never get anywhere close to 500 again, and they finish with 101 losses, the worst record in the American League. Remember the story of Junior's epic 43-hour exodus from Seattle, the one that happened a month later? Well, here's an extremely poor man's version of that story. After that suicide squeeze debacle, Burns went to the clubhouse, got on his cruiser bike, rode through the stadium tunnel, nearly ran over his general manager, and kept on riding out at Safeco Field all the way to his home in downtown Seattle. This was his life now. Eric Burns retired shortly thereafter, becoming a triathlete, and now rides his bicycle thousands of miles across the country. This is like something a sim would do. In literally riding out of the clubhouse on a bicycle, he seamlessly and immediately reassigned himself from baseball player to cyclist. Amazing. Spectacular. I'm in awe.
Throughout the first 43 years of Seattle Mariner baseball, 331 of their 1,921 regular season road losses came when their opponent was batting and walked off victorious. That was more than every other team in their league except Toronto, but they found one way to lose that escaped even the Blue Jays. While the overwhelming majority of the Mariner walk-off losses obviously stemmed from allowing game-winning hits, in their quest for thoroughness, they managed to lose on a play in which they recorded a strikeout. On September 29th, 2010, the M's are nursing a 1-run, 8th-inning lead in Texas before a bases-loaded wild pitch from Seattle reliever Dan Cortez enables the Rangers to tie it up.
Gets away. The Rangers looking to tie it. They do.
Interim manager Darren Brown leaves Cortez in the game for the 9th, where Mitch Moreland draws a 2-out walk to get the game-winning run aboard and bring Nelson Cruz to the plate. With 2 strikes, Cruz chases this slider in the dirt in what would have ordinarily sent the game to extras. But it's yet another wild pitch from Cortez, and a poor throw by catcher Guillermo Quiroz goes sailing into right field. Moreland gets on his horse and commences a 270-foot victory jaunt around the base path to punctuate a bizarro Ranger victory. And if a baseball game ending on a walk-off strikeout isn't wacky enough, Cruz flirts with somehow making it even way more outlandish. See, upon reaching first on Quiroz's throwing error, Cruz decides to turn and go charging towards second. Logic that would be totally sound had the Rangers been down 1 or 2 runs. But they were tied, meaning, with a man on, Cruz represented an irrelevant run. Furthermore, since there were 2 outs, it's not like he was trying to eliminate the potential of a subsequent double play ball. It was an affront to all rational risk-reward calculation. Fortunately for Texas, the natural instinct in that situation is to fire home, and thus Cruz's brain fart was ultimately harmless, ensuring Seattle the ignominy of the rarest of all walk-off losses.
That's a walk-off strikeout.
Nice strikeout, Nelly.
God, that team sucked.
In July of 2011, the Mariners lost 17 consecutive games. To this day, it's the second longest losing streak in the last 30 years of Major League Baseball. But what makes this one...
We literally talked about that prior to recording a podcast the other day. We looked up the longest losing streak in MLB history. And, like, for baseball, it's the Phillies, and then the American League, it's the White Sox tied the, what was it, the Orioles or something?
Yeah, something like that.
20-some-odd games. We calculated how many podcast episodes it was. It was like 6 episodes of the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, a 17-game losing streak, you're looking at 4 or 5 where we're just talking about L's. Like,
I don't think I could do it.
It just wouldn't be worth it, dude. Would not be worth it.
Special is that during a chunk of it, they managed to fall 10 games out of the standings in a 10-game span. On the morning of July 6th, the Mariners were sitting at 500 and only 2.5 games back from the AL West leading Rangers. Just 10 games later, they were 12.5 back, well out of contention. The odds of your 10-game losing streak perfectly coinciding with a division leader's 10-game winning streak are extraordinarily remote. To simplify things a bit, let's just suppose your odds of winning a game are 50-50, which for both teams is more or less the case. Logically, the odds of you losing and your division leader winning are 25%, or 1 in 4. For that to repeat over the next pair of games as well, that's 1 in 16. As you'd imagine, the number balloons very quickly from here. Now, the probability does ease up a little bit for this 4-game stretch since the Mariners and Rangers played each other. A Mariners loss automatically meant a Rangers win, so the odds of fulfilling the conditions expanded to 1 in 2. But by the end of it, the coin flip odds of this 10-game stretch sit at about 1 in 65,000. This has happened at least once before, most recently to the 2002 Detroit Tigers, but that was at the start of a season with low expectations to begin with. The Mariners suffered this humiliation in the middle of a playoff race. They were right in the thick of it, but at the end of the season, when they finished 29 games out, you never would have known it. Well, now that we've reached this era of Mariners baseball, we can finally talk about 2 players who are very near and dear to me. The first is Jack Wilson. An extraordinary defensive shortstop who on one occasion committed back-to-back errors when they tried to make him a second baseman. In keeping with the Mariners' time-honored tradition of piecing out without asking anyone's permission, Wilson was so dejected that he went straight to the clubhouse at the end of the inning and decided not to come back out. In terms of defensive wins above replacement, Wilson ranks among the top 50 defensive players of all time. He's pretty underappreciated, in part because he wasn't a great hitter, and in part because he spent most of his career playing for terrible teams. But he made some incredible plays, the most memorable of which is probably this one from April 4th. Wilson manages to drag his toe across second, then turns to fling it to first despite his momentum carrying him in the opposite direction. Jack Wilson only played for the Mariners for a short time, but it's all the time he needed to perform the 2 miracles necessary for Goofus Maloofa's sainthood. The first came in July of 2010. Near the end of a 13-inning game, Wilson runs down a bouncing ball up the middle, spins, double clutches, and with a grand flourish, whips it to first. I can hear the sirens of the baseball police getting closer. Let me guess, you have to have the baseball in order to throw the baseball? Such limited thinking. The second of his miracles is more understandable in context, but it's still really funny looking. An errant throw to first sends the ball into foul territory. After initially chasing it down, Wilson does what is probably the correct thing to do, which is to peel off and 45. Let Ichiro take it. It's just the way he does it. You see, most of us saw this play as an animated GIF. In fact, most of us knew Jack Wilson just through GIFs. This is all we saw or knew of him at the time. A tremendously talented man. A man with a soul. A man with hopes and dreams. Was bottled up into a dozen of the funniest looking frames of his life. Our other hero is Raul Ibanez.
Hell yeah. Oh god, it's gonna be him spiking the ball onto the ground.
Is one of the strangest I have ever heard of. For one, he had 3 separate careers with the Mariners. He was sort of a passing comet, having visited during the Death Star years of the late 90s as well as the malaise of the mid-aughts, before making a farewell tour as a 41-year-old in 2013. Far weirder though is how late of a bloomer he was. In fact, as power hitters go, Ibanez was the latest bloomer in the history of baseball. These are the guys who hit the most home runs from their age 30 seasons onward. In this category, he hit as many as Manny Ramirez, and nearly as many as Willie McCovey and Ted Williams. If you're shocked to see him here, believe me, I was too. Now, let's take these top 25 and see how these same guys rank all-time in the under 30 home run category. As you'd figure, all the usual suspects like Barry Bonds, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, and Willie Mays were also one of the best ever young home run hitters. Some were late bloomers, with Andres Galarraga ranking around number 500 and Nelson Cruz in the 700s, but nobody is in the same universe as Raul Ibanez, whose home run total before age 30 ranks number 1,925. He only hit 27 home runs in his 20s, and while he hit the vast majority of his home runs in his 30s, what's unbelievable to me is that he hit nearly twice as many home runs in his 40s as he did in his 20s. It's bewildering, but it's in left field where he achieved the 2 miracles necessary for sainthood. On August 6, 2013, video made the rounds of Ibanez chasing down the ball, squaring up toward the infield, and throwing it to 27th base. He's not the only one ever to do this. Once in a blue moon, the ball just slips out of a fielder's hand. It happens. But I knew I'd seen him do this before. May 3rd, 2008. Today, this moment, in which he did the exact same thing, lives on only through a GIF. It probably would have been instantly forgotten were it not for our Mariners blog, Lookout Landing. Take a look at all these games. More than 2,000 of them since 2005. And know that the bloggers and commenters of Lookout Landing were telling the story of nearly each and every one of them, inning by inning. They could tell you stories for hours and hours, stories Alex and I have no clue about. If success were all that mattered, these people would have bailed a decade ago. To stick around requires what they might call madness, but what I would call an evolved spirituality, a superior understanding of sports and what they can offer us. Oh, hey buddy.
On September 13th, 2014, the Mariners woke up with an 80-66 record and were right in the very thick of the AL wildcard picture as they prepared for the second game of a huge series versus an A's squad that we already know Seattle was in fierce competition with for a playoff spot. Both teams have their ace on the mound, so runs are likely going to be at a premium. The Mariners look to get on the board first when Logan Morrison draws a one-out walk. Next, catcher Mike Zunino hits a sharp ground ball to Oakland second baseman Eric Sogard, who flips to shortstop Judd Lowry to try and initiate a double play. Now in baseball, you see base runners from time to time take pretty wide slides in an effort to break up potential double plays. But the rule is that when sliding into a base, your body has to stay within arm's length of the bag. Here is Logan Morrison's attempt to break up the double play. Unless he plans on morphing mid-slide into Inspector Gadget, this is problematic. Morrison's a big dude, listed at 6'3", and honestly, I'm not sure he's even within body length of the bag, let alone arm's length. The umps make the easiest interference call of their lives and award Oakland an inning-ending double play. Maybe it wouldn't have mattered and Zunino would have been thrown out anyway. But we'll never know what may have happened.
Matter to Lloyd.
What we do know is the Mariners went on to lose that game by a single run. Had it gone the other way, the Mariners, not the A's, would have snagged the AL's second wildcard spot. Sometimes the Mariners are contagious, and just being on the same playing field as them can infect you with Marineritis. Such as the next year on July 26th with the Blue Jays in town, when Toronto kicked off the top of the fourth by getting runners on the corners with none out. Up comes second baseman Ryan Goins, who hits a ground ball to Mariner first baseman Mark Trumbo, who promptly steps on the bag for one out. One Blue Jay, Kevin Pillar, gets caught in a pickle. Then the other Blue Jay, Ezekiel Carrera, gets caught in a pickle. Somehow this inexplicably ends with a rendezvous between the two at third base. That is not allowed in the sport of baseball, so the latter inhabitant, Pillar, is ruled out. But wait, there's more. From out of nowhere, an extremely muscular ghost descends upon Safeco Field to shove the other Blue Jay, Carrera, off the bag. Tag applied, third out. I have not seen every triple play in the history of baseball, but I'll be damned if that's not the stupidest.
I want this graphic, like
I want it as a poster. Yeah, like
I'm
gonna look it up after
the one
this.
in which these decades have felt like centuries. That was a pure accident that I sincerely apologize for. This is the value that baseball brings, the Mariners especially so. Nothing necessarily belongs to a greater theme or narrative arc, although it sometimes does. Nothing is scripted, nothing is achieved, nothing is taught, nothing is learned. Things are only meaningful as long as we decide they are. It's purely a celebration of human beings at their best and weirdest, and the bizarre, accidental stories they tell within this moon colony. A Seattle Mariners game is a window into what our world might be like if we didn't have important things to do all day. The Mariners have been a reflection of their time in one way, albeit by accident. Their era coincides perfectly with the rise of the individual in our culture. The idea of doing things collectively ebbed in favor of doing it all yourself, whether through the 80s barrage of self-help books, the pull yourself up by your bootstraps lunacy of the 90s, or the rise and grind bullshit of modern times. Similarly, the only plaques or trophies these people could win were the ones they could go and get themselves. The Mariners are almost like an MMA training camp in this way. They don't compete for team titles, they provide a platform for the pursuit of individual greatness. As always with this team, this requires you to reconsider what a team is and what a team can be. It's not a shortcoming, it's simply the way they operate. Randy Johnson was the first in this pantheon to enter the Baseball Hall of Fame. After his years in Seattle, he started a new, entirely different baseball life at age 35, winning 4 straight Cy Young Awards and leading the Arizona Diamondbacks to a World Series title in only their 4th year of existence. And that's how the Diamondbacks, a franchise 21 years younger than the Mariners, saw their hat represented on a Hall of Fame plaque before the Mariners ever did. Of course, Seattle didn't have to wait long.
Thanks, Brandon Montour.
I'm not sure any American athlete has ever been more universally loved than Junior. Junior even melted the hearts of the notoriously cranky Baseball Writers Association of America. The ballots are confidential, and the last 5 or 10% of the voters are Holstein cows who leave immortals completely off the ballot for reasons they'll never have to explain. More than 5% failed to vote for players like Ricky Henderson and Willie Mays, which should tell you something. But even they showed up for Ken Griffey Jr. He wasn't merely a Hall of Famer. He was a man who received more than 99% of the Writers Association vote, the most in the history of Major League Baseball at that time. More than Babe Ruth, Hank Aaron, or Willie Mays. A man who had never played in a single World Series. A Seattle Mariner. In his Hall of Fame speech, Junior paid tribute to Senior, thanking him for everything he'd done for him.
And he made a decision to play baseball to provide for his family. Because that's what men do.
On my birthday,
I love you for that.
Both men could barely get through it. It was a far different story for Edgar Martinez, the night shift factory worker who managed to claw his way tooth and nail into professional baseball. Didn't play his first Major League season until age 27, suffered injuries that relegated him to a DH role, and overcame vision problems that almost ended his career. Somehow, through all of that, he became one of the most dependably great hitters in the history of the game. Edgar's one of just 18 players to finish with an OPS of 1,000 at least 5 times while taking at least 600 plate appearances for each one. That's where the dependable part comes in. What's most remarkable is while the others started racking up these seasons in their early 20s, Edgar didn't even get going until age 32. He did it through home runs, yeah, but also through an unparalleled ability to smash doubles, hit in all directions, and practice unbelievable plate discipline. He mastered the art as almost no one else ever has. If he hadn't, would the Mariners have gotten every single one of the wins they needed to force that tiebreaker in '95? Would someone else have hit that double? Would the Mariners exist today? Edgar's status as a career DH severely damaged his Hall of Fame candidacy, as though it was his fault that the DH is a position in baseball. Like all players, he had 10 years of eligibility to break the 75% threshold necessary for a plaque. In the first 6 years, his candidacy went nowhere. But Junior and Randy started campaigning for him. So did other stars around baseball, who told stories of how scary he was to pitch against. Whatever the reason, in true Edgar fashion, he peaked late. And in his final year of eligibility, he was voted into the Hall of Fame. Along with Junior and Randy, he joined Dave Niehaus, who received the Ford C. Frick Award from the Hall just a couple years before he passed away. The only remaining question mark from these years is A-Rod. After leaving Seattle, he turned heel. He was resented by fans and the media for any reason they could come up with. How much money he made, his contract dispute with the Yankees, the fact that he was not Derek Jeter, the steroid use he eventually admitted to. Meanwhile, he was busy cobbling together not 1, but 2 Hall of Fame caliber careers. This is the OPS of every man in baseball history to play at least 1,000 career games at shortstop. And this chart is the same story, only for third base. A-Rod, whose trade to the Yankees necessitated a move to third, fares pretty well on both leaderboards. By this standard, he is the very best hitting shortstop of all time. He is also, by a nose, the very best hitting third baseman of all time. A-Rod is the anti-Junior. The teen phenom from Seattle who did choose to use steroids, who was willing to play for the Yankees, who did eventually win a World Series ring. It's a hobby among baseball fans to wonder what Junior might have accomplished if the fates hadn't taken a sledgehammer to his 30s. Well, maybe in Alex Rodriguez we see the answer. Thanks to his admitted steroid use, there's no telling exactly what the voters are going to make of A-Rod when he becomes eligible for voting in a couple of years. Maybe it hurts him.
Not
Maybe
good.
He's been
Yeah, not
rehabilitated
good.
by a second life as a CNBC dork. I really hope he makes it in. I love this goofus.
Oh
In
God,
2019,
Felix's last start.
the Mariners started off by winning 13 of their first 15
The
games.
Domingo Santana,
that was the
Tim
very
Beckham
most
years.
in Major League Baseball, and in fact was so remarkably good that going back over 7 decades, 21 of the other 29 teams have failed to ever begin a season by winning that many of their first 15 games. The Seattle Mariners had never started this hot. Even in their historic 2001 campaign, they only won 11 of their first 15. But then,
Yikes.
That's so
the
Mariners.
2019 M's immediately dropped 37 of their next 49. Also the very most in MLB, and a run so remarkably bad that 6 other teams throughout that same period have never suffered that many losses in any 49-game stretch. Again, a preposterous fluctuation of historical highs instantaneously plummeting to historical lows. Only the Mariners. It was all part of a season where, thanks to no shortage of injuries, ineffectiveness, and blowout losses, Seattle used 42 different pitchers, the most in Major League Baseball history. They broke the record that they themselves tied just 2 years earlier. The Mariners had now gone a literal generation wandering through the MLB abyss. There are actual human beings on this earth born after October 2001 who have reached adulthood without ever having existed during a Mariners playoff run. And across those pesky 18 seasons that followed their 0-1 postseason qualification, in which they failed to make a single return trip, 28 of the other 29 MLB teams had secured multiple playoff appearances.
Awesome.
And even the Marlins get a pardon for parlaying their lone trip into a world championship.
Cool, guys.
This was the year the last 2 great Mariners said goodbye. When they began their season with a series in the Tokyo Dome, a 45-year-old Ichiro Suzuki suited up to play 2 final games. It was purely set up as a crowd pleaser, as his abilities were mostly gone. Mostly gone. In Ichiro's final plate appearance, the oldest outfielder to start a game in more than 100 years came this close to legging out an infield single. Junior had made the trip to Japan so he could be there to greet him. Also there was Felix, who was now the last truly great Mariner left. For the last 30 years straight, the Mariners had always had at least one iconic player on their roster. But while Ichiro is a guaranteed lock to enter the Hall of Fame the second he's eligible, things aren't as simple for Felix Hernandez. Felix's fastball regressed, and as he struggled to adapt, his effectiveness has disappeared. In a hurry, he went from great to good to average to terrible by Major League standards. Being a Seattle Mariner, pennants and World Series titles were never in play for him, leaving things like a Hall of Fame plaque the only hardware he could aspire to. 5 years ago, he seemed destined for one. In 2020, as he approaches just his 34th birthday but struggles to remain in the major leagues at all, it doesn't seem likely. Felix had stayed in Seattle, and had given this team and these fans every piece of himself until there wasn't much of anything left. The team was going to move on. When he took the mound for the last time, everyone knew it was the last time. It's true that his final start was a loss that dropped his record to 1-8 on the season, that he allowed 5 hits and 4 walks in 5 innings and change, and that the Mariners were lucky to only be losing 3-1 when he left the mound. It's true that just weeks later, the Washington Nationals would win a championship, leaving the Seattle Mariners as the only team in Major League Baseball that has never even appeared in a single World Series. But When I watch them say goodbye, and when I watch the King's Court pour out enough love to last them through whatever comes next, I mean...
The King and his court one final time.
Who gives a shit? What is next? Well, I suppose it's a matter of whether the last 43 years were an accident. Did the Seattle Mariners stumble blindly into the most bizarre stories and fascinating people, generation after generation, purely by chance? Or are there reasons? Are they eccentric because their lack of conquest on the field affords them to be? Are they so geographically remote that the ceaseless march of the normal can't reach them? Do their fans love them so unconditionally that they're allowed to ferment into something so captivating? Are they touched by God? Will they always be like this? Before he vanished forever, nearby resident Roger Smotus, who suggested the name of this team, also supplied an explanation for why he liked the name. I've selected Mariners because of the natural association between the sea and Seattle and her people, who have been challenged and rewarded by it.
Cinema. Absolute cinema.
Is there a post-credit scene in this? Dog.
Ugh, man.
Why they gotta end it with Felix's start, bro?
Ugh. We were at that game. We bawled our little eyes out.
Yeah, we did, dude. Oh, man. I don't know if it makes sense to make another episode of that, if I'm being honest with you.
You don't think so?
Like, I don't know. Okay, let's rewatch it. Run it back. Yeah, can I log this on Letterboxd? 5 stars, please. Yeah, dude. I like it would almost feel, and that's the hard part with like continuing a story, like how history is continuing to be written, right? It's like the story was never finished when they don't stop watching my stream. That's messed up. I heard that.
You were done.
I know. Not until the story is finished we win a World Series. That's probably fair. Like that's what I was trying to say is like it's hard to tell a story in its entirety when the story is undoubtedly continuing year in and year out. It's like, did they like? There's no way. There's no foresight to know that after 2-3 years later after these kind of low light level stories that the drought will end and there's this new era of like a core group of major league. Like are the Mariners on their way to another core 4 kind of situation of Julio, Cal? Is it Brian Wu? Is it Logan Gilbert? Who's the fourth member of that? If we're looking at it like as A-Rod being like the fourth one that they kind of introduced there, where it's Griffey, Edgar, Randy, A-Rod. Is it like Julio, Cal, Wu, Colt Emerson? Is it like, who is it gonna be? You know what I mean? Like, and so it's just, it's an interesting thing to think about, like what happens when and if the Mariners do win the World Series, especially in this year because they're winning it for Rick.
You can get your shirt now following the link in the pinned comment.
Perfect. So yeah, it's just it's an interesting thought about like whether or not how they should continue it if they choose to do so. And Ian, I think, has like the right kind of frame there where there's enough content for a new episode, but there's not a good end point until we win the World Series. And it's like, how do you like, because if they win the World Series, right, like I don't think it's just one extra episode. I think that there's probably, it depends obviously when it happens. If it happens next year, that can absolutely be the 7th and final episode kind of a situation. But like Franchise just said, that's it goes against the entire point of the entire presentation is if we're in it for winning, we're in it for the wrong reason kind of a vibe. So
you don't become a Mariners fan for winning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you become a Mariners fan for the people that you're watching on the field every day. You like people are becoming Mariners fans now because of Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's just it's a fact. And I think that if they were to make another episode like this, you could maybe have the 2025 season be like a kind of natural endpoint similar to how 95 was.
Yeah.
Obviously there, I mean, like, you know, you talk about the Mariners winning the division for the first time in, 24 years, whatever it was. And they advanced to the world or they advanced the ALCS. They, it's like, you could use this as a natural endpoint, but I don't think they would do that until at least 2030 when there's a full decade to talk about.
I guess that makes sense. And like with like 2020 to 2025 could be, like you're saying, a good break point, and then do it the eighth iteration as 2025 to 2030 or 2026 to 2030, depending on the way that things transpire, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But I very, very happy that we watched it. Thank you for enduring, 3 hours and 40 minutes of, as Mike said, maybe the greatest sports documentary. I mean, it as a biased Mariners fan, it's up there. I mean, The Last Dance is really good, but Michael Jordan was never a Seattle Mariner. All right, bitch, I'm a Mariner.
Chicago White Sox instead.
Yeah, exactly,
and not a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's really. I think that also just like to pull back the curtain, like this video gives me other video ideas to really like nail in on certain moments. Like I want to make a video now about Griffey helping bring Ichiro like in 95, you know what I mean? Like I want to make a video about that now. And could I ever do it to the storytelling level that these guys do? Absolutely not. Like I'm not that kind of a storyteller, unfortunately. But I think that going through and finding the unique moments on this list and breaking them into small moments where it's, hey, we're talking about this one singular strange thing that the Mariners did that makes this team so special, I think would be really fun.
Yeah, it's an eye-opening experience on, I think, a multitude of fronts. And for people that were watched along with us, thank you for just hanging out and just watching something with us. That's sick that people are interested enough in, obviously, the fandom itself, right, as the Mariners, but like the fact that, I don't know, we got people to watch it is sick. And we got people to rewatch it as well.
Yeah. Do a 30-minute episode on Mr. Jello. I'm in.
Alex's Darth Vader video. Yeah, I don't hate Alex Rodriguez. I have a little bit of internal bias because we share the same birthday. Shout out July 27th. But I don't think I hate him. Y'all finna be 50? Yeah, we're old.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I don't hate Alex Rodriguez. See, like you look at it this day and age, everybody would have done what he did. Every single one of you that were watching this would have done what he did. I would have done it. I would have gone to the team that's offering me the largest contract in baseball history for a team that after playing for a team that was ass. I mean, they weren't ass, but they weren't great.
Yeah.
Like, and I would have done it. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go play for the Rangers where they gave me a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, I wouldn't have done the whole steroids thing and whatnot, but
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
W
Mike, best managers in Mariners history. I'm in.
Where does Dan Wilson rank?
Story's still being written, Joe.
Well, if his story ended, if he is relieved of his duties tomorrow, where would Dan Wilson rank?
Yeah, he'd be up there.
He's probably second or third.
Yep.
It'll lose one.
I'd put him probably 3 right now.
Mm.
Like I'd go Lou then Scott because Scott broke the drought.
Yeah.
And then I'd go Dan, but Dan has a pretty easy path to surpassing Scott. So
it's to say, well, it's also with how poor the history of this team is. There's only 4 managers in the history of the team that has. Cody Pierce just subscribed. W Cody. Only 4 managers in the history of the team that have a winning record.
So bad. So bad.
Dan Wilson's the best one, a 566. He might be the GOAT.
Yep. No, he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
When's the next stream, Mr. Banks? I'll do one at some point this weekend while I'm at FanFest. Not sure what day yet. It'll be like a Q&A. So if you guys have any like Mariners questions, or as other people call it, the mailbag, I'm just going to call it a Q&A, just be there and I'll try to answer what I can while I'm just at the ballpark hanging out. Why not? Right. So yeah, it'll be this weekend. Obviously we'll have an episode of the podcast out on Monday, and I'll have a video out tomorrow and hopefully Sunday. I don't know if I'm going to have time to edit the other one completely, so maybe not Sunday, but
you can just send it to me.
Some content over the, I'm halfway done with it.
Yeah. I mean, you could render it and then send it to me then.
That's true. I could.
Doesn't matter.
But yeah, so it's content obviously coming down the pipeline. I mean, we're 11 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting. Like,
We're close.
We're close. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Friendly reminder, you can get your Win It for Rick t-shirt, Smile, where 50% of the proceeds are going to Rick Riz's Toys for Kids Foundation. That's in the pinned comment. And if we somehow fan fund $1,000, Joe's shaving my head.
So running it back. No mention of Seager in the video. I wholeheartedly believe that if they did another part, Seager gets mentioned, and there will be a little bit of like revisionist kind of commentary on his tenure for sure, because you can't tell the 2021 team story without him.
He's always been underappreciated, I'd say.
Yeah, like he's just kind of an afterthought because the team is bad, but I mean, best third baseman in Mariners history.
Yo,
Mike with $2, and then our Brophy giving out 5 W, dude. To Cook franchise inspired Vladdy and Mariner Mojo _
Oh my God, Mariner Mojo's in again, guys.
They're there.
Shout out to Brophy. I appreciate it, man. And then Mike E, breakdown of former Mariners careers, Boone, Kaz, etc. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that we could do. The hard part is I wish I would have been thinking about this before the offseason.
The season starts now. Yeah.
Yeah, now the season starts, and now our schedule gets a little bit more hectic once the season starts.
Well, hectic or structured?
I mean, I'm going to try to stream after every game. You know what I mean? So it's like that's going to be a lot. We'll be recording the podcast, whatnot. So yeah, we'll see.
There's a lot to do.
But yeah. Cool chat. Well, we appreciate you guys hanging out for, this 4-hour documentary about the Mariners. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. Again, be sure to tune in this weekend for a Q&A, but appreciate you guys, and we will catch you very, very soon.
Good night. Smooches. Good night, smooches.